since 1991. Birds and people are living together in seemingly perfect harmony, until one day a young man catches fire. This is Phoenix.
Hello everybody and welcome to the OCSS 8 Hours of Spa qualifying session. Oh, let's go. It feels good to say that. We've not said that in a while. Here with me today is Tong, joining me in the commentary booth. How are you doing, Tong? You excited for the session? For those of you who don't know, I'm going to quickly explain how our sessions are going to go today. So, starting off, we have GT3 qualifying. The top 4 of that qualifying will go on to fight out for GT3 Super Pole, which should provide us with a lot of entertainment. Then, we will have Hypercar qualifying. And again, the top 4 of those will fight out for Hyperpole, which is overall pole position of the race. It's going to be mental. As you can see, we've got the Spa track map up here. It is an amazing track, one of my personal favourites, and I'm sure you're fond of it too, Tong. I agree with you, mate. I've been looking at some of these practice times, just like as we've been preparing for this stream. And the GT3 cars and even the Hypercars, they are all so close together. I think our best time in GT3 is a 2:15 at the moment. And we've just dipped into the 1:58s in Hypercars. So expect some fast lap times from these guys here. They've been putting in the work. And, you know, there's been a lot of practice going on. I'm sure you can attest to that, as you are actually one of our drivers, but you're not driving in any of these sessions today. Exactly. It's all about having the speed in those crucial moments near the end of the session, because you can crack under the pressure here at Spa. It's a long lap, one of the longest laps in the world, really, apart from maybe the Nordschleife. And especially if you're looking at the F1 calendar, it is the longest circuit. So plenty of room for mistakes, and that means we're going to have a really interesting qualifying session here today. Okay, I'm apparently getting word that stream cannot hear my co-commentator right now, which is very strange, because that is, like, I genuinely do not know why. This is going up. So we've already got our first technical difficulties, which is great. I promise you it's not my fault, because I haven't not turned something on. All right, let me see. Yeah, let's see if that helps, if he rejoins and leaves. It is displaying that his audio is coming through. Let me just... Okay, I tell you what, if he comes back in, we'll give it another go, I think. I think we'll get this sorted. I do apologize for that. That is a very embarrassing technical difficulty to start right at the beginning of stream, considering he was saying some very interesting things. So it may be fixed now. I will give it a look. I really do apologize. That's not a great one. Let's see how it goes. Okay, let's have another look. Tong, you are here. Can the audience actually hear you this time?
I think your schizophrenia has kind of gone upside down, to be completely honest. I'm not even real. Ah, we're working now. Happy days. Yes.
There we go.
All of
Okay,
what I've said
brilliant,
beforehand
brilliant.
is not attested.
Right. We did say a lot of really good stuff. I promise you that. We were. I'm not lying. Like, it was quite good. But we're getting into our first GT3 qualifying session. This will decide who goes on to fight for Super Pole, which will be the top 4 GT3 cars in this next session. So it's going to be interesting. We've got a packed out grid today. I think we've got, what, over 15 cars here at least? Maybe even over 20?
Something like that. Yeah, we've quite a lot of grid. Also, thank you to the chat. I am real. Yes, unfortunately for most of you, I do exist. But it's pretty. As I was saying when my microphone apparently wasn't working, it's going to be really interesting. Like the amount of corners you have here, the amount of bits that you could lose, small little part. The chicane, for example, if you get that a slight bit wrong, it's going to make things really, really difficult because these guys are going to be on it. Now, for the main qualifying session, the top guys might do 1 or 2 laps and then go, right, we're safe. We don't have to worry too much. But when it comes to the Super Pole, gloves off, whoever nails every single corner, every single braking zone is going to take the Super Pole.
I 100% agree, mate. It is going to be an absolutely exciting session. And I'm glad people could actually hear what you were saying this time.
It's always an improvement.
Yeah, that is what we wanted to see. So we are heading towards starting our session now. We had a couple little warm-up laps for the people who are driving today. And I do just want to say a big thank you to everyone who not only has signed up for this race, is watching right now, but also to the event organizers. I know so much work has gone in behind the scenes. These guys are absolute legends. And yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be... It's so difficult. You can't put money on who's actually going to get poles that tight. With the Hypercar, as well as the GT3, the likes of Park Motorsport, people who have been in this since, I think, the very beginning. A lot of other drivers across AC, like even I'm looking at the timing list, you have the likes of NG Motorsports, Dark Banner Motorsport, another gang who were here since the first race, and also the likes of Wojaw Racing, who came over from Project Endurance. I believe they were in this before, but I don't know. I'm not a betting man. I'm glad I'm not, because I will be struggling here. Any predictions, Dan?
Well, I really don't know. I haven't actually seen the pace setters as of yet. I have seen a few people on practicing. I think I saw Simline practicing earlier on. So I think it's going to be a close session. I mean, all of these guys here, they're the top level drivers who've put a lot of time into the server. And we've got plenty who are contending for the pole position today. So I think just keep your eyes peeled and it should be a really interesting session. We've got a little bit of practice for them now. They're all out on track. And then we will get our official qualifying session underway, our first actual session of the OC Sim Series, 8 hours of Spa. I'm so excited. I really am. I've been looking forward to this for ages now.
Someone needs to take the caffeine away from you. You're too excited. Looking at the way that the organisers have done the BOP as well, I do want to give a massive shout out to Vigo, Milan, Camera Designs, all the main organisers. Sorry, I may have left a few of you out there. But the BOP has been on it. The cars, if it's Mercedes, Porsche, if it's a Ferrari Hypercar, if it's a Cadillac, they are very, very closely matched. The difference mainly sound. A couple of cars might have different characteristics, but like you just don't know. Yeah, I would be the same as you. I'm quite excited, except I'm a bit more toned down.
Well, that's fair enough. I can understand, especially with the amount of practice you've put in here. What I do want to talk about quickly before we get into our session, we've got about a minute here, is that this is not the first time the OC Sim Series has gone to Spa. We came here 2 years ago now for our first ever event. It was absolutely brilliant. Tong nearly won, and then we're not going to talk about it. Yeah, we're not going to talk about what happened. Don't worry about it.
Nearly never won the wars, but I lost.
Yeah. But it was an absolutely amazing race, and it's great to see how far the event's come. And I hope you guys do enjoy this one. It's a little bit of an anniversary event, isn't it? It's kind of like a throwback, and everything's just so much better in these new ones.
I don't like remembering this circuit and this race and this series, but we're here again. We're going to do the same thing, but with different classes. Last time it was LMP, and I believe we had the Porsche Cup, so at least we trust our drivers to go into the higher classes, and now we're going balls out here. Even, like, look at the speed they're carrying through, flat out, in GT3 car, up Eau Rouge and Radeon. That is, you'll see that in qualifying, good bit. When the cars come out with full tanks initially, maybe not so much during the race. Even, let's have a look here. I can't quite read that. I'm a bit blind, but you can see the GT3 cars carrying... Oh, they can take so much curb as well. It's going to be interesting to see the difference as well between the GT3s and the Hypercars, the way they take the lines. That's not the line. But we'll be able to see it all through this qualifying hour and a half, something like that.
Indeed we will. And we are about to start as practice is finishing. So we will quickly get that sorted out. But yes, practice is about to finish. We're about to actually head into our qualifying session. A few technical difficulties, but they're all sorted out now. You know, every time when it comes to one of these events, we think everything's sorted. We're like, we've checked this, and then something goes wrong. But you know what? That's the love of live streaming, and I'm here for it. So we're finally going to get into a session and have a bit of fun.
I'm going to buy you a clipboard with a checkbox to make sure everything's done next time, but hey, things happen. Welcome to the world of live streaming. There's no cutting, there's no nothing, it's just raw idiots talking to a microphone. I also do want to say a big thank you to Oscar Oski Racing for letting us stream on his platform, and SimSpots, the very loyal sponsor. I think they've been with us since the beginning. I want to thank them. You can use the link down in the description to get some nice deals on some sim racing equipment. I've actually used them to get my Porsche wheel, so I'm quite happy, although I've rearranged some of the buttons, but let's not worry about that. Well, I believe we're getting into our first qualifying session, Dan.
I believe we are. We are going to hop and have a look at what's going down. So, let's see. It still looks to me like it might be practice, actually, Tong. I think we're just getting the last few people in on their final few laps now. And then we should have a qualifying session underway. We've got a couple times on the board. Yep, that looks about right.
Me being wrong, never.
You tricked me! How could you do such a thing? How could you do this?
It's gonna be a long time for the stream with us two. Right.
All right, officially, we're in qualifying now, finally. And oh my goodness, we have a lot of people heading out onto the track. Wow, this is a busy qualifying session. Have a look up through a Rouge there. There's a bunch of cars. Oh, sorry, Radeon. I need to be correct. There's a bunch of cars going along the Kemmel Straight now.
It's 21 GT3s. This may be a big circuit, but trust me, it's going to feel like Monaco. When you're trying to get the ultimate lap in, and you're trying to go for it, you may say it's purple sector 1, purple sector 2, there might be someone in the chicane. So you have to be really careful looking behind you on a warm-up lap, and looking out in front of you on a fast lap. You have to time it right. See the Audi and the Mercedes right behind each other. He's not letting them have any slipstream. There's a game to be played as well. These GT3s, for all of you who obviously know how to drive GT3s in the chat, they don't produce as much downforce, the likes of Hypercars, Formula 1, so you can follow that bit closer. The dirty air won't kill you, so you could gain a lot up the straight. Might see a few games being played here, but for the moment they just want to get the tyres up to temp, set a banker lap, and then they'll go from there.
Exactly. You want to be out here early, get one lap in. Once you've got that one lap in, even if it's a bit of a shoddy one, it's not too great, you feel a lot more secure, you've got a lot more confidence then going into the rest of your laps. It's all mental in motorsport. It's not just in the driving, it's not just skill, you know? You can be the fastest person in practice with 4 hours of practice, but when it comes down to this 23-minute session now, that's where it really matters. And I can't wait to ride on board with our first driver. Heading through Blanchimont now is the Academia Endurance Racing Team. I love that purple livery.
It does look quite nice, and the 444, OCD minded me, I love 444, I don't know why. The best thing about this as well, when it comes to the drivers and their mental capacity, they don't have to aim for P1, they don't have to aim for P2. Once you're in the top 4, you'll get through. You don't have to put everything on the line. Academia, though, absolutely sending it to the outside curb, and we'll start a lap down. Why don't you take us away?
All right, here we go. Heading down into the tight first right-hander of La Source. Little bit of a lock-up there on the entry from the 444 car. Now it's another long run up towards everyone's favourite corner, the best corner in motorsport, and that is Eau Rouge and Radeon. Let's see how much of a brake or lift we have through here. And, oh, they've kept it flat in 5th gear. That is impressive. Okay, heading on to the Kemmel Straight now. Again, one of the longest straights on not just the F1 calendar, but on calendars around the world. Into 6th gear, heading towards 266 kilometers an hour there, and then brake hard into the Lacombe chicane. Let's see how much curb they take, and that looks pretty good. Decent amount of curb there. And then we're into the Mulsanne corner. flick it into that right-hander as you head down towards Rivage. With Rivage, it's all about picking that braking point. You want to keep the car tight towards... Oh, big slide there heading into the corner. That's going to lose them some time. And they're back on the throttle early before you get to No Name Corner. Formerly Jackie X Corner, but then Jackie X said, actually, can we call it No Name Corner, please? And we kept it at that. Now it's down towards one of the best corners on the track after Eau Rouge and Radion. Pouon, a fast left-hander, followed by another fast left-hander. And you've got to make sure you nail that first one before getting into the second one. Now, we're into the kind of locally named Piff Paff chicane, officially named the Farnier chicane. Again, you can use a bit of curb here, although this car seems to be avoiding it, and then riding that exit curb as they head towards Stavelo. Another tight right-hander. You want to get on the power at the perfect point here, using all of that exit curb, because you're now flat out all the way until the bus stop chicane. This is one of the longest sections of flat-out track you will have on the calendar, and to be honest, right, this track is 70% full throttle. You are always flat out here, so it's always a trade-off between downforce and top speed. Let's send it through Blanchimont in 5th gear, still there, heading towards the bus stop. Now this is one of the hardest corners of the track. Slam on those brakes, swing it into the right-hander using all the curb there, then tighten it up, get it into the left-hander. Nice, clean angle through that. Let's see what the time is, and we are going to have, looks like, a 2:16 on the board. A decent lap from the 444 car.
Looking at the practice, the top times are doing around 2:14 lap times. You can see there the 444 cars. We see the Team Poland by MG Motorsport coming through. They got really sideways in the middle of that chicane. That can lose you nearly half a second if you don't recover it properly. Got a bit in the gravel, it looked like, out of past the Fania chicanes. But we'll see here, Team Poland goes just behind. FGL RT now a 15.4. So we can see those times. They will start to tumble. The car behind Academia as well, you might have noticed, had a massive slipstream.
Yes, that's really going to help you here. If you're behind someone down those straights and not getting any dirty air through the corners, that is going to shave crucial tenths off your lap times. Currently, the 222 car out in front. But what might be interesting to have a look at is some tyre compounds. We see we've got a mix of... I don't know what the D stands for. We've got a mix of tyres here, Tom.
So the D would only be a letter. So, for example, in the hypercars, you'll see them running M's, which you would assume medium, and the Ferrari goes off up the... Oh my god. That
Big
is probably
spin
a case of taking curb on the inside up Radion. I don't think we can't get a replay of it, but that would most likely be in curb up the inside of Radion, up the hill. But back to the tyre compounds very quickly. You'll see the hypercars not using the soft, not using the S. The same way you see most cars here using H, which would you would assume hard, versus the D, which would be, say, soft. That's because the track, as you go through the middle sector, there is so much temperature being generated. Hence why these guys are using the quote-unquote hard tyres, and the hypercars will use the quote-unquote medium tyres, because the temperature is, even through Piff Paff here, as locally named, as you pointed out. Well done, good trivia. It's so much temperature, you need to have that temperature ready for the next corner. Otherwise, if you've an overheating tyre, it's gravel all around. Good luck.
That's really interesting. I was told actually to look out in the Hyper Pole and Hypercar qualifying sessions for some differing tyre compounds, because apparently they don't make that big of a difference on these cars. So we could see a few changes there. The other question I've got for you, Tong, is it going to be a push and a cooldown lap as we see the 222 car go even faster into the 214s now? So that is one of our fastest times we've had all weekend from these guys. What a lap. Purple in the middle and final sectors. But what I was going to ask is, are they going to be pushing, or will they cool down or go into the pits after every lap?
I think a FGL or FTL, sorry. Is it FTL or FGL? I'm incredibly blind today. They
F and
are
L,
proving...
I believe.
F and L, perfect. They are basically answering the question for me. The GT3s can easily go push all the way. Now, you don't want to do it for about 10 laps because you've loads of fuel. As the tyres wear down, you know, the lower fuel isn't going to help you. So these guys might do, say, 3 or 4 laps, maybe 5, get their eye in and go back to pits, maybe put 3 laps of fuel in. The likes of the hypercars, usually the battery will be an issue, but it's not this time. So we don't really know at the moment. Usually the hypercars probably do 4 or 5 laps. the GT3s, it's really a mix through the whole grid. Maybe someone's doing the whole session with the whole amount of fuel. But at the moment with the hard tyres, they might just be confident enough, sticking the whole thing of fuel. We don't have too much tyre wear. We're just going to go for it.
That sounds like a plan. That makes sense. I mean, you understand wanting to build into the track as well, and obviously tyre wear's not as big an issue in these cars as other series. But the 55 Silverheads division, they have just gone purple in Sector 1. They're all the way down in 19th at the moment, but I assume they haven't set a proper lap time yet. So let's have a look on board with them as they head through Sector 2. Could this be our new fastest lap? Tong, take it away.
I love a Mustang. You can see he just rotates it in 4th gear flat out. He got a bit twitchy at the exit there. Hopefully aiming just for the board here. Braking straight after it. Try and trail brake it in. Keep it in, keep it in. Get a wide line for the next part. Don't get onto the gravel and exit. The Lamborghini is showing where not to go. Kind of brake just before the curb here into 2nd gear. Try and get the rotation. Don't spin the wheels up too much. Right on the edge. Not in the gravel. You can see there he's had a green sector, but as we went through before, he probably hasn't set a lap yet. The Mustang is one of the best sounding cars, aside the Cadillac, on these tracks. You can see here he's going to be flat out, probably in 5th gear, depending on the gear ratios he's selected. Flat out through Blanchimont. He's going to try and not hit that curb. Perfect amount. He hasn't got any rotation from the curb, which is brilliant. Brake just halfway between the curb and that white line on the ground. Trail brake it in. Don't get any oversteer. Perfect. Try and straighten up as early as possible.
No!
And he spun it. That is the difficulty of that chicane. That is exactly what you're going to see through Hypercar if people are pushing through the GT3 sessions. That chicane, whether you get through the first part or the second part, will always trigger the rear.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. It looked like a really good run through Sector 2 as well. I think matching our current pole sitters. Speaking of our lap times, the 97 car has just also dropped into the 214s. Remember, this session is not for pole position. We are going to have a top 4 shootout for the GT3 Super Pole and a top 4 shootout for our higher category of cars for the Hyperpole later on. This looks already very close, and we still have 14 minutes of qualifying left. But the 222 seems to be leading the pace at the moment.
Yeah, so at the moment they'll probably...
saying that. Commentator's curse. Okay.
I didn't even say anything. I was going to say they were going to start maybe taking it easy a bit, maybe just trying to find a couple tenths here in practice. Maybe that is practice. It could definitely be. Right, don't do that. They got too much on the curb there. So, at the moment, F and L or T, they have a 1 second buffer to where they would be knocked out. Realistically, it's not like kind of Formula 1 where at the end of the session, engine modes get turned up. This is one engine mode. These are different fuel levels, granted, but it's unlikely someone's going to find a second, but we never know. At the end of the day, Park Motorsports sideways into Pooh. That's the kind of stuff that will get you knocked out, and they are right on the bubble of getting in to the top 4. But what I was going to say, top 2, probably feeling a bit easy. The guys below them, though, are going to be going hell for leather.
Yeah, speaking of a few cars about to finish their laps, now we have the Team Poland Porsche heading across the line. It doesn't look like it's going to be a big improvement, if at all, for them. And it's a small improvement, but not enough to edge them towards the top 4. But the 999 car just coming across the line, again, not quite able to make an impact on that top 4, that top 2, I suppose. They're still in the top 3. And the 99 car going fastest in Sector 1. So it looks like a couple people able to improve on their lap times, but some just not quite able to get that extra few tenths out.
You can see in the final sector as well, when we were on board with the Mustang, it spun pretty easily. The Porsche is so planted in those corners where it's so difficult. If you cannot handle the car and you start sliding a bit, losing time, the Porsche will punish you. The thing is, it's lacking some kind of speed. But we'll see here, even look at this. Look at the Porsche here. It's so controlled. We'll see as they cross the line, MG Motorsports are only going for another lap, probably a cool-down lap, the last lap. But ISC Racing could definitely challenge the top here.
Yeah, let's have a look through their final sector. Hopefully, they don't have a spin like we saw the Mustang having earlier. They're about to flick it through.
Curse, Dan.
They're about to flick it through Blanchimont, and so far, they've kept it clean and tidy. Now they're going to get hard on the brakes into the bus stop chicane. Arguably, one of the trickiest corners here at this track. And that's nice line through there, trying to keep as much speed as possible early on the power in first gear. A little bit wide. Is that going to be out of track limits or not? Let's see when they cross the line. And it's second. What a lap from the 99 car. And 2/10 away from our provisional pole sitters.
Now, the thing is about him running wide, he wouldn't have gained a lot of time. If you keep it on the inside of the curb, traction control gets triggered less, you're not going to gain as much time as going wide. So he wouldn't have... Oh, there goes the 14. Yeah. 14 has decided that it wants to be with the other greenery.
Yeah, it's trying out being a lawnmower instead of being a racing car this time around, so...
Well, you know what? You know, there's different people, different pleasures, you know? Scooter Relay Gile, they are going flat out in the Lamborghini. It's kind of hard to find a Lamborghini in this field on the hard tires as well. We'll see as they come up the Lamborghini 5.2-litre V10 screaming up the straight. What are we going to have in Sector 1? Scooter Relay Gile, give me something good! They're down.
2/10 down. Not the worst, but ooh, a bit wobbly through there. Definitely.
Just about saved it.
Hunting for some better times. Let's see what the 999 car can do, because they are 4/10 away from being eliminated from that crucial top 4 as they cross the line. They have been knocked down and they aren't able to make it back up. The 55 car, the Mustang we were talking about earlier, now getting ahead of them. So they've put in a clean lap.
I reckon the Mustang is a lot more pacey. They would have taken it a bit more conservatively, the chicane, after what happened. But you can see the top times are becoming a lot tighter. More than I would have expected. But as I said, we don't know what's going to happen. So 2/10 gap between 1 and 2. You've got another 10th back between 2 and 3. And then another 2/10 back to P4. So the top field are quite close. But the other bits behind, like, everybody's starting to close up. It's starting to become a little... scary if you're in the top 4, so the Mustang knows that. They've set a purple first sector, and now they've nailed the chicane. They're going to try and improve the middle sector. FNL RT, another purple middle sector. Brilliant from them. Nail the chicane, get it in early, flat out, just a bit of drift at the exit, but they've kept it on, and they're going to go and set the... Oh, I thought there was going to be a 13, but 14-0, they should feel a lot safer.
That's a really good lap from the 222 car. Absolutely flying out there. And they've... I mean, almost certainly at this point they've made it into the top 4, right? Surely.
Well, we said before, remember everybody was in the 15s below the top 2? Now everybody's in the 14s down in the top 4. So who knows? Dark Matter Motorsport coming through. Can't quite improve to get them up positions. But still in 13th. It's not going to be too bad when it comes to slipstream. We'll see here we have FNLRT are literally on the verge of going to the 13s, but we'll see who can kind of challenge them. A yellow sector 1, they could probably make it up to the mid sector. We don't quite have the times in front of us to show how much they are in live delta, but we'll see as it develops throughout the lap.
Yeah, quite a few cars out on track at the moment as well, although there was a bit of a lull. But definitely the 222 setting the pace. Number 7 car looked to be on a bit of a run there, but backed out into the pits. Let's check on board with 3rd place. A bit of a wiggle as they came through. I think that was Puon. So, yeah. Oh, sorry, the Fanye chicane. My bad. But yeah, they're trying to set a bit of pace here. Maybe it's just a warm-up lap.
It could be. It's very hard to get the power around that part, whether you're in the GT3 or any other car. It's really hard to get in the power early enough and keep the car in check, whether it understeers, oversteers, but they might have done just enough not to lose too much time. They didn't hit the gravel. We're going to go into the chicane now. Never mind. We're not going to go into the chicane.
Sorry, Tom.
I didn't really like the chicane anyways, Dan.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
I didn't like the chicane, did you?
What chicane? What are you on about? I've never heard of
this one up here as the number 955 will go racing, try and keep it. And they're going to go for a late apex, try and get it out, power down 2nd gear. And they're going to go and set a 217.1 in 10th place.
Let's talk about potential driver changes. Because, are you set to 1 driver for qualifying? I don't believe so. You can swap out your drivers, is that right?
No, you can swap out drivers. So say one driver can do the normal qualifying session, get their eye in. You can even swap out mid-session if you want. So 2nd driver kind of gets their eye in. Okay, the car's like this in low field in case strategy plays out. But more than likely, at least for my preference, if one driver is in the car for qualifying and they're feeling good, you keep them in for now what we have is the Super Pole and Hyperpole session. Keep them in Because if you start changing, then people might not have much experience. The people who are already in the car know, okay, I can find this 10th, I can find that 10th. That'll get me into this time. I can get a 213 that way, or 158. You know, you want to keep the same team in, but absolutely, if somebody is not feeling it, you have teammates to rely on, and they can fill in.
Well, that sounds like a smart idea to me. And speaking of shaving tenths off, we saw the 99 car doing exactly that. They're now within 2 tenths of the 222, who is currently leading the pace. And it looks like, I would estimate, if you are in the 214s at the moment, you have a very good chance of making it through to Super Pole.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like FNLRT, if they get knocked out, then my God, we got a session ahead of us. They seem to just be that bit clear. Sunset Racing, then coming into the final sector, only in a warm-up lap, so they will go for another one, try and set a lap up. This is the great thing about GT3s. You're not worrying about the car burning a massive amount of fuel. You can kind of fuel it up and go along, as we were saying before, but you don't have to worry about the battery level. You can pin the car every way you want and then go for it. That's the thing that separates GT3s and the hypercars here. Even though the hypercars don't use too much energy, you can see even FNLRT have been going for about 5, 6, maybe 7 laps in a row. Even the likes of Sunset there, they just did a cool lap and went for it. Park Motorsport then coming across the line, I believe they were only a cool down lap. That's the opportunities we have here. So there's so much that can happen. Going between here and there, I'm trying to work out in my head who's going to be doing what. There's even half a tenth between the knockout point for Super Pole. FNLRT coming up to the line, they're going to be doing our first 213, just about 213.996. That surely has them safely through.
Yeah, that is a brilliant lap. There wasn't even improvements in Sector 1 or Sector 3, but that Sector 2 was absolutely blistering by the looks of it. But you are right. What's really getting my attention now is that battle for the last place in Silver Pole. We've got the Mustang of the 55 Silverheads division, and we have the 999 Simline Mercedes, sorry. So, it's going to be close between those two. It's less than a tenth between them. How would you be feeling if you were driving these cars right now?
Nervous, scared, I don't want to mess up. There's only 4 minutes left. If they get to the line, they could do one more lap after, but do they have the fuel? Simline, they're nailing the curb. If we can stay on board with them here, we can see exactly how they're going about it. It's Mercedes versus Mustang. It's Super Pole or no pole, and they've gone deep into the corner. So It might be a prepare for next lap. You are now trying to find, you're not going about finding half a second. You're now trying to find the 10th, the half 10th that's separating them. This could be decided by a matter of thousands, depending on how they cross the line. But at the moment, yeah, they've completely messed the lap. Right, reset, we need to go again.
I wouldn't even write off this car either, the 955 Bielgo Racing team. They are only 6 tenths away. A track like Spa that's so long, so technical, that can be found. But all of these guys who are out on track right now, they need to get going if they want to get a final lap in. We have 3 minutes left here of qualifying. You might have chance if you're crossing the line now to get round and start another lap. But realistically, if you're pulling out of the pits, you want to do it as soon as you possibly can. The number 6 car does improve by 3 tenths. They need to find another 6 if they want to try and get through into Super Pole.
And they might be going back to the pits for one lap of fuel, one glory run. Here comes Simline Racing. Here we go through the chicane. Keep it clean. Atta boy, get across the line. Can he get into fourth?
This is the start of the lap, by the way, Tong. I'm sorry.
I hate to look at that.
Yeah.
I knew that. I was only testing Dan. That's fantastic. Deep in the brakes. Get it to the apex. Good. Nail the throttle. Traction control will carry you through. Don't get in the gravel. He might have gotten too much curb there, but we don't know just yet. Silverheads are going for another lap as well. This is where it matters. Nail the throttle. Nail the upshifts. Send it up through Origin Radion. Well done. Flat out. Don't get a cut track. Whatever you do, that will kill your qualifying and kill your chance at pole position. Flat it down the straight. He's going to go down to 6th gear, I believe, at the end. and he's going to try and aim for that 100 board. Brake flat down into the corner, into third gear, get on the curb, right amount of curb, take loads of curb on the left, rotate the car around, and flat out through the next part. You can go down to Malmedy, I believe it is, in the curve here, try and art the car. He's got a bit of wide, he's got it sideways again. There's been it just seems to be a constant basically battle through that corner. He's took too much curb on the way in. It's going to wind up nearly on the gravel. This is not the lap. Silverheads will be sitting there laughing because they know that they have the advantage right now. But if Simline rivals can get around for one more lap, I think they have the pace.
Well, I agree with you. We've just seen, I believe, the Silverheads are carrying on with another lap. We saw them in our little window in the top left there. They were crossing the line, and it looks like they're going for another lap because they didn't improve on that last one. So it's going to be a shootout, by the looks of it, between the number 55 and the number 999 for the final place in Super Pole. And both teams will desperately want this, okay? It's a huge advantage to start at the front, even in an 8-hour endurance race. It's a lot less traffic, it's a lot less cars for you to get through, it risks less damage. So getting yourself further ahead is crucial, and whichever one of these makes it into the top 4 has a better chance of doing it. So let's see who is able to go faster. At the moment, the 55 car is slightly down through Sector 1, but they're going to come through Puon now, just as the Simline Racing Rivals team are going to start their final lap. So they cross the line now to attempt one more flying lap. They've just about got time with 25 seconds left on the clock. Tong, this is the absolute shootout for who's going to get into Super Pole.
I'm not going to worry too much about Sector 1, to be honest with you. If you get you could easily lose hundreds there because it's such a flat-out section. It's one real corner, one actual braking zone. Silverheads need to improve. Sim Rivals need to set the lap of their lives. Checker flag is out. Sim Rivals are on their final lap. Silverheads are on their final lap as well. Silverheads have sent it through the middle sector or green sector there. We'll see how they come up flat out through Blanchimont, coming up to the braking zone into the final bus stop chicane. Flatten the brakes as late as they can. They're setting everything for the last lap. Get the first apex. Beautiful. Keep the car straight. Lovely. Send it out of the back. They nearly got the back around just like they did when they spun around. They're gonna cross the line. And it's a 2:14.4. They have put 3/10 between themselves and Sim Rivals, which means Park Motorsport are now the drivers at risk. Can Simline had a lift through the apex there? Can they find the time? This is going to be down to the wire. Send it into 4th gear. Stick it through the track. You've nothing to lose at this stage. You're 5th. That's fine. You stay in 5th. If you get into the top 4, you have a shot at pole. 5th gear. Get it down to 3rd gear. Rotate it beautifully into Fania chicane. Flatten the throttle. Get a later apex. A little bit of curb sideways, but they keep it out of the gravel. That's the main bit. 2nd gear. Make sure, get a bit of curb. Send it out of there. Don't get the gravel. Beautiful. Send it through the final part.
Oh
no! Sideways! And it's
gravel.
all over. That is heartbreaking. They sent it through all the parts that they should have done. Maybe a couple of small mistakes there, but that is their qualifying over.
And that, to me, did look a little bit like they may have been overdriving the car, just trying to push that little bit too much whilst they were under the pressure. And the 55 car does get through just in 4th place because the 97 Park Motorsports car, they actually had just been beaten out and were in 4th, but they got an even better lap right at the end there that we just didn't see as we were watching the 999, the Simline team, who come across the line, and it's not good enough to make it through to Super Pole. Wow, what a first session. Don't go anywhere. We still have Super Pole upcoming. We still have Hypercar qualifying, and then, crucially, we have Hyperpole to finish it off with. This is going to be exciting. Tong, why don't you talk about some of the highlights of that session?
I think that entire battle to get into Super Pole was a highlight within itself. Yeah, that kind of had me on the edge there. Park Motorsport just about clinging on and getting another lap in. Silverheads putting another couple of tenths in, but my God, that was brilliant. Simline, unfortunate what happened. They got too much curb just starting the 3rd sector. It happens to all of us. It just happened at a crucial time. But yeah, you can see FNLRT definitely in the prime spot to take pole position at the moment, going by what we've seen through the practice sessions and also through that qualifying session. But you can see how on it the drivers are, and we haven't even got to Super Pole yet.
No, we have not. It's going to be an absolutely enthralling session. If you had to pick one, who would you pop onto? Who do you think is going to make it onto Super Pole?
To be honest, like FNLRT just seemed that bit more confident. They got into the 13s. Now they're going, right, we can do this easy. That's perfect. And they're probably looking their Delta bar going, we have a bit more in store. So we'll really have to see. It really comes down to, as we saw with Simline Racing there, if you can nail the lap, it's fantastic. But if you keep making those tiny little errors, you could see the car was getting sideways. If you make those tiny bits, that's what will cost you pole here. It's going to be a really, really, really tight session.
It certainly is. And yes, I have to admit, surely they're going to have more confidence going into our final session of the GT3s. Surely they'll have that little bit extra and they'll just be able to eke it out. But you never know in racing. That's the best thing about it. One mistake, one little slip up. I believe the session is only 8 minutes long. So
yes, it's very short.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial to get maybe 1-2 laps in at the most, maybe 3 if you get out there straight away.
Yeah, so the timetables for everybody kind of looking at what's going on here. So you have the GT3 qualifying. We're going into Hypercar qualifying now. This will set the top 4 both. So the top 4 have been now set for the GT3 field. We will then do another qualifying session to set that field for the Hyperpole session. So it's really, really, I'm going to completely, I don't know. I've just lost my mind. It's going to be really tight. It's going to be really interesting in both fields. So you have 2 races to watch. What are you complaining about sitting there at your computer typing in the chat? Stop complaining. You have 2 races to watch.
If people complaining, stop complaining. You're not allowed to complain.
Exactly. Complaining is banned here at the OC Racing Sim channel. Please stop.
Complaining is banned. You know what? We didn't consult Oscar on this, but complaining is banned. Complaining is.
You know what? I think he'd be agreed. Yeah. What are we doing, Dan? What are we doing?
We're
trying to kill time between these sessions.
I may have been last minute fixing even more files because you know what a setup course is like. But I'm so excited for Super Pole, and if Hyperpole and Hypercar qualifying is anything like that session we've just seen, we are in for an absolute treat for the remaining hour or so that you guys are going to be with us. And I again have to say a huge thank you to everyone watching. And like Ton kind of mentioned earlier, if you want to support the stream, there are many ways to do so. You can check out all of Oscar's links to different sim racing companies he's affiliated with, as well as, I believe, a PayPal donation link that goes straight into this event. And so we can do more like this again. But here we go. Let's move on to
also
our next
join the
section.
Discord.
Oh, yeah. Join everything.
Join the Discord. You can be part of this. There's nothing stopping you. Join. Well, apart from buying the cars and trying to be fast. But join it. You can be part of this. We could say your name. Well, that's not really much of a thing,
when you crash, me and Tong will laugh at you. Isn't that an honor?
Isn't that just an honor? Dan No Skill, the YouTuber, laughed at me while crashing. Anyways, will we move on to our next session and see who our main people?
Oh man, this is going to be absolutely brilliant. Next up, I believe we now have, the Hypercars. The Hypercars. So we now have the Hypercar session. Have I been saying it's not going to be Hypercars next? Am I a bit silly?
Yeah, you're just like, there's this thing called timetable, Dan, and what I use is this thing called English reading. Like, you're from Manchester, you're the most English they come, and you can't read it. So I'll go through this. The next bit we have is Hypercar qualifying. The length will also be 20 minutes. Sorry, the GT3 was 25 minutes. We have a shorter session because the cars are obviously about 20 seconds faster. You can get more laps in. So that will go on for 20 minutes. We'll have another break, and then our Super Pole will be coming up as well as our Hyperpole after that. But the Hypercars, I have a feeling, are going to be quite interesting.
They certainly will be, as we now hop on board, well, not on board, but off board with a couple of them. They're just going around for their practice sessions now. So I apologize, it is now Hypercar qualifying. We will see who moves on to Hyperpole. And of course, we already know who's going to be moving on to Super Pole. This is going to be absolutely extraordinary. Absolutely brilliant. So I hope you guys are excited. If this is anything like our last session, who knows how close this is going to get. And of course, Tong, you have a vested interest in this session. Go ahead and tell us which team you're rooting for.
I'm not rooting for any team because I'm an unbiased commentator.
Don't lie to me.
Okay, I'm supporting 161 Project A because we have Lasse Elbrecht behind the wheel, a team that I will be driving for tomorrow and hopefully not have a game crash, but hey, touch wood, and it's definitely going to happen. We have 16 of these hypercar teams at the moment. We have notable names like Wojo Racing, or Woyal, I believe. You might have heard them for Project Endurance if you've been around the AC scene. The likes of VRC Factory Team, the VRC cars we are using today in the hypercar class. Drivetrain Racing, I've seen, have been quite a fast team, and a load. And Simline Rivals actually have a team in here, so it could be very interesting. Mostly consisting of Ferraris and Cadillacs, because we're on boring, but those, I want to point out, number 45, ADM in the Peugeot, you absolute legends.
Well, if everything stays as it is right now in this practice session with no time set, the Peugeot is leading. And Tong, as we are now both Peugeot owners, which isn't really the flex
you've become a Peugeot owner?
Yeah, I have. We've got a route for the number 45 car a little bit, surely.
It may last about 20 miles, but it'll look spectacular when it breaks down. That's the brilliant thing about it. Project A here, my favourite, one of the teams on the grid. You can see that. Do you know what, actually? We managed to get a carbon black livery just because we felt like it, and it actually looks the bomb. It's the first time I've seen the car on track.
Well, you're channeling your inner 2024 specifically F1 livery design.
That wasn't a mistake. That was on purpose.
Purely black. But honestly, we've got a minute of just these guys warming up, practicing. Currently, the Baguette Racing team sets the pace, but I can assure you the times will definitely drop from a 2:23. Our fastest in practice, I believe, got down to a 1:18. So,
no,
1:58, not a 1:18. That would be a little bit too fast. 1:58. So just sub 2 minutes. Do you think we'll get into the 1:57s, maybe the 1:56s during this qualifying session?
I don't really see it, to be honest. Having driven the cars, I know I have driven quite a bit over the course of the week with different BOPs. And 57 was possible at one time, but the recent BOP has been quite good. Do want to point out, Baguette Racing, I'm very disappointed with them. They're not driving a Peugeot, but hey, look, only cool people drive Peugeots, I'm afraid.
Well, they are driving an Alpine. Oh, they've got an Alpine sponsor, sorry. I don't know if they...
Yeah, but like... Oh, yeah, actually, you got a good point. Anyways, Dan, take it away.
Oh, they're not driving a French car, apart from that French car they're driving. I'll save you the embarrassment. We've got 10 seconds now until, I believe, our hypercar qualifying will start. Tong, I'm so excited. I hope we see more drama, more action. I hope we see it going down to the wire. And this even gets me more excited for the race tomorrow. A reminder, if you've not seen it, even though it's been plastered all over the Dan No Skill Discord, my channel, the OC Racing Discord, and his channel, race start is 11 AM BST, which is UK time, tomorrow. It lasts for 8 hours. So if you can't tune in at that time, have a check later in the day. We might still be live, provided, touch wood, no technical issues happen. Okay, so make sure you tune in. It's going to be a banger race.
We will always be live. We never go away from being live. It's going to be an interesting session. The likes of Peugeot was kind of an outlier. The Alpine is kind of an outlier. The Ferraris and the Cadillacs are where you want to look. These guys, or sorry, not these guys, but the cars themselves are just a lot faster than the opposition. So the likes of the Ferrari, you will see it will set purple sector 1, but it will lose time in sector 2. The likes of the Cadillac will go yellow in sector 1 and 3, but sector 2, it is absolutely on the rails. Looking at it also on top of what Dan said about the race tomorrow, despite what the outcome is, having looked through all the times, I'm sure you've looked through some of the times as well, Dan, the pace is within tenths of a second. You will see trains and overtakes every single lap in this hypercar field, as well as the GT3. So again, 2 races for the price of 1. It's going to be, like, no matter how good the qualifying is, the race is going to be incredible. And I'm very nervous.
I completely understand why you would be. Setting the pace at the moment, surprisingly, considering their name starts with Scuderia, is an Alpine. Obviously, those times are going to drop for our proper qualifying session. This is just practice. But that's a name I recognize. Scuderia Carmona, they've definitely competed in OCSS races before this. So, I can't wait to see how all these people will do. We're about to start our qualifying session in around a minute or so. Tong, I'm very excited. I think, like you said, with all these cars as close as they are, we could be in for some real action. Let's talk tyres. We saw everyone out on the medium here. I did mention earlier, the hard doesn't seem to have too much of a drop-off. Is it maybe worth putting that hard on, putting some fuel in, and going a bit longer and building up your confidence?
No, not at all. No, you want to be in the medium or the M tires. Basically, they're soft for the hot weather. You don't want to be in the hard tires. They're just plain slower. The GT3s are a completely different feel, completely different tires, and all the rest. The hypercars will be going on the M tires, and they will be going for about 4 to maybe 7 laps of fuel. So outlap and then maybe a few laps just to get their eye in for the start, as we saw in the GT3 session. But the tyre wear is a lot more aggressive on some cars in this hypercar field. So what you'll see is maybe people going for 3 laps, get a cider, yeah, happy days, and then they go back to the pits and they get a lot lower fuel. On a side note, Dan, for every time you said, I'm so excited, I've been playing a drinking game. It's a shot every time you say I'm so excited. I am plastered.
Well, I do apologize, but hey, kids, don't do that one at home. Not a good idea. We can't.
Adults though, adults do.
Adults, well, it's you've got free will. You can do whatever you want. Right, looks like we're actually about to start getting some cars out of the pit lane. Let's go, and I assume we're gonna have one big DRS train. Well, not DRS train because we don't have DRS in these, but one big train all the way through the Kemmel Straight again. I would assume so anyway. Okay, yes, here we are. So we've got the number 45 car just tucked in there behind the number 8 car, I believe, who is leading the front of the pack. It's going to be fun to see how this one goes. It looks like they're all tucked up very tight at the moment. You don't want to obviously be too close together when starting your qualifying sessions, as I think that's the 45 or the 44 car gets ahead. The Alpine, that is the Scuderia Carmona. So it looks like they'll be setting the pace. But like Tong mentioned earlier, you do want to have a slipstream when you start your lap. And Tong, I can't wait to ride on board for our first flying lap here. But why don't you quickly take over before I start yapping about that?
That's fair enough. Nobody wants to hear that. So you're going to see these hypercar teams. They're really close at the moment, but they're going to start dropping back and making a gap. Unlike the GT3s, the slipstream, it's not going to be as beneficial compared to the dirty air you may get. So Scuderia Carmona have got themselves into the ultimate position at the front of the field. They have control at the moment. The Peugeot behind them, but the Cadillacs and Ferraris behind those slower cars will want to drop back. There may be some kerfuffle here and there. There may be, if you've seen an F1, they drop back and they start making a massive gap. So they want to be really careful with how they start their lap. Maybe some cars have loads of downforce. Ooh, the Alpine hasn't started the lap very well. But you're going to see a lot of cars drop back and create gaps. Otherwise, they're going to die in the middle sector, especially the likes of the Ferraris. Scuderia Carmona then are going to the first corner, braking late enough. The tyres are still cold in these cars, very hard to get warmed up. So the first laps, we won't take those into account too much. It's the second lap onwards, the times start to drop.
Certainly, but let's have a look how Scuderia Carmona do as they fly through Rouge and Radion onto the Kemmel Straight, and you're going to see a significant top speed difference between these and our GT3s earlier, already crossing over the 300 kilometers an hour mark as they slam on the brakes into Le Combe, and a purple sector claimed immediately by the cars behind, but that makes sense because they're getting the slipstream. Let's see as we go into Mulsanne. It looks pretty good, actually. It looks pretty good. And now they're going to head down into Ravage, where again, you've got to pick your braking zone, keep it tight, keep it clean. You do not want to slide through here. And again, nice and tidy from the Alpine of Scuderia Carmona. Let's fly down towards Pouhon now. A really difficult but fun corner where you just got to tap the brake, throw it in, and try and get it lined up for that exit, because the exit is crucial. You want as much speed as possible heading towards the Farnier chicane. Are they into 7th gear? Not quite, but here they go through the little piff-paffs. Can they keep it close to the curb? A little bit of room there if they wanted to push it a bit more later on, but this is just their first lap out. They'll still be building up to those faster laps at the end of the session. Now you're flat out through Stavilo 2 and all the way towards the bus stop chicane. We've got a purple Sector 2 here from the 44 car. And as of right now, that still stands as the other cars head through that middle sector where they will have been affected a little bit by the dirty air into Blanchimont, and it looked quick. Now they've got to pick their braking zone for the bus stop chicane. They get it slowed down just about, throw it into the first right-hander, then through the left-hander. Hopefully no spinning with these hypercars. Like I said, more downforce should be a bit easier. And across the line, it is a 2-minute lap time. Okay, let's see what everyone else does as they begin to cross the start-finish line.
I expect that time. Apologies there, my voice just disappeared. I expect that lap time to drop by quite a bit over the next couple of laps. So they're currently top of the time. Scuderia Carmona, lovely lap from them. Ferrari's kind of building into it at the moment. You can see 2:01.9, very far from their representative lap time. They will be creeping up that leaderboard. So everybody's kind of getting their eye in, right? What conditions am I working at? Like, what temperatures is it? What's the wind? Okay, I did this, I did that. Now the tires are hot. Now I can go for my lap. And now I'm going to nail it. So we're going to see the times tumble into the 59s, maybe the 58s this session. But we're going to see gradual progress into braking zones as well. We'll see the cars taking a lot quicker. Dear. And the other Scuderia Carmona car taking a bit too early, but they'll have the ultimate entry for the next lap at least. Maybe the rear's a bit too hot, but we will see even the likes of ACX Simulations there, setting the fastest sector.
They're out. Oh. They were spinning round there. Oh dear. That is
maybe a bit too brave into the braking zone. But we have Team Versatile. They are going through the first sector very lovely in the lovely tricolour livery as well, trying to get as close to that gravel as possible. And now they're going to try and absolutely dive it into the corner. Wow, those Ferraris really do well into that corner. A diesel engine in these compared to the Cadillac with a petrol engine as well. That's the main difference between those cars there as they get a bit wide. I think they've kept it though. They haven't really hit the gravel. But a purple Sector 1 now from Team Versatile.
Yeah, it's been very quick from the front two cars already. One thing I found interesting was Team Versatile currently in P2. I know we've only sort of had one lap of racing as Project A set the fastest Sector 2. You'll be happy to hear. Scuderia Carmona going slightly faster as they cross the line. And Project A into first, finally breaking the 2-minute barrier. What I was going to say was this number 77 car, they started their lap a lot later than the others. They had clean air and ended up putting themselves into what was P2 is now P3. Just how important is it to have that piece of track to yourself in these sessions?
It is so important. If the car ahead goes off of you, apologies again, my voice is going. If you were behind another car and they spin at the apex or they slow down in the middle of a fast corner, you get their dirty air, your lap is pretty much ruined. With how tight the field is, you'll be screwed. Oh dear Lord, that is a slide and a half. But you don't want to risk. There's no rules here with yellow flags. You have to slow down. There's no rules with red flags either. What you really need to worry about are the other drivers, how they go, like spin, where the car goes. You have to be really, really, really vigilant. And you don't want to have to be vigilant on a qualifying lap. So ideally you give yourself that bit of space, focus on the next corner and the next corner. Otherwise you're not going to get the ultimate lap time.
And speaking of the ultimate lap time, it looks like we already have two somewhat front runners going for it at the moment. Tong's Team Project A, the last say in the car at the moment, and now the Radio Goal Team Versatile. So, purple Sector 1 for Team Versatile. Project A will be the first to cross the line, and Project A setting the fastest Sector 2 as well. So, this already looks like a bit of a battle here in Hypercar qualifying to see who's going to get through into Hyperpole. And may I remind you, coming up still, we have our Hyperpole and Superpole session. Superpole for GT3, Hyperpole for these guys here who are duking it out at the moment. But let's have a look. Project A through the bus stop chicane. It's looking clean and tidy at the moment. And they're going to cross the line, I believe, to make an improvement. Not quite into the 158s yet. Let's hop on board with Team Versatile, who have seemingly matched them through the middle sector, although the 79 car from nowhere and the Vanguard Racing team all coming through now. We've got a few cars going quite a bit faster at the moment, so let's get some comparisons up on the board here. Purple sector 1 for ACX Simulations. Wow, everyone's picking up the pace now, Tom.
Yeah, and you can see as well, looking at the sectors myself, we're really far away from the absolute, like 31-1 for the first sector. That's actually really good for the Cadillac. Expect the Ferraris to be somewhat faster, maybe by a 1/10. But the middle sector, I can see no one's at the complete limit yet. There's still a lot to come, and we only have 11 minutes left. We're nearly halfway through the section. My God, ACX. I mean, there's taking curve, and then there's that when it comes to ACX, but they'll get another lap in. But you can see, looking at the sector times myself, they're not quite at the limit, but it's getting there slowly. Everybody's kind of getting their eye in. The top teams are getting their eye in. It's drivetrain, no! After a purple sector, one of the Ferrari, they go into the barrier. But don't worry, they still have another 10 minutes of time. But you can see, it's going to get closer to the limit. We're not quite there yet. The top teams are getting their eyes in, but eventually we'll start creeping down 10th by 10th by 10th.
Well, you mentioned getting close to the limit. Interestingly there, we saw drivetrain going over the limit. And that's something you don't want to do. You've got to be so on it when it comes to racing. You have to be precise. And if you're taking too much curb like that, and like we saw the number 77 car as well do just a few minutes earlier, you're going to make mistakes and you won't get your best lap times in. So it's really close at the moment between all of these guys. I cannot wait to see what they can do, because we can see them weaving side to side, trying to get some temperature in those tires. So it looks like everyone is preparing for another push lap at the moment.
Personally, having driven all the cars in the field, the likes of the Cadillac and the Ferrari differ, even though they're close on pace, they differ so much. The likes of the Cadillac, you have to be on the limit. Usually, in a lot of races, like the GT3s especially, you can kind of go, right, I'll back off maybe 2% through this corner. Like, these guys are on it from the word go. They just have to make sure. The difference in between, I'm trying to just really picture it for people here. When it comes to the difference between Hypercar and GT3, in GT3, if you want to set a solid banker lap, you're holding back maybe 3 or 4% of your potential. In Hypercar, at least in these cars, what I found, you're holding back about 1.5%. It is really, really fine margins with these hypercars for how much speed you're carrying, for how much downforce you have. You have to be so precise. Scuderia Carmona coming up with the purple sector, middle sector, and they've done a 59.8. That's the Alpine is the top 3 at the moment. That's looking really good. It's really tight in that bottom half. But that's what I'm saying. You have to be really, really precise, and there's only so little margin for error.
Well, I can attest to that just looking at the times. At the moment, Project A, 2/10 clear in first, and it's looking good to make it through to Hyperpole, but there's still 8 minutes left in the session. Then you've got Drivetrain Racing slightly behind them, and again, looking a bit safer there in P2. But between P3 and P5, there is 2/10 in it, which is incredible. These guys are so close, and for such a long track, for such a long lap, nearly 2 minutes long, these three are already duking it out for the last position in Hyperpole with 7 minutes left on the clock. That's just amazing.
It really shows the skill of the drivers that we have in the field with how close they are. Usually the higher up the category you go, whether it be Formula 1, whether it be WEC, you'll usually see big gaps in these kind of leagues where it comes to mainly Assetto Corsa. It's really hard to drive the car, so therefore you might have 2 teams out front and then the rest of them are 2 seconds back. This is not the case here. You have so many competitive drivers and teams all in different machinery, like the likes of the Alpine, the likes of the Cadillac, the Ferrari. They're all so close together. We can't understate the skill of the drivers here, especially when it comes to this qualifying session.
And as you were saying that, Scuderia Carmona, one of their cars crossed the line into... Oh, contact between the 69 there. That has ruined their lap. Sorry to interrupt myself, but Jesus Christ, guys. It's not even the race. It's qualifying. Keep it clean. What is going on? That is mental. as I was saying, this car right here that's about to finish yet another lap, the Scuderia Carmona, they got themselves up into 4th ahead of Vanguard Racing, and they're now into 3rd with an even better time, a 1:59.6. The number 64 car drops into that crucial 4th place. Remember, only the top 4 make it into Hyperpole, and the 195 are just a 10th off them, hunting them down, trying to get into Hyperpole. And even behind them, you've got the Team Versatile hanging in there in 6th. So these guys, all within a realistic chance, if they get the right lap in at the end, of making it through to that final session.
Wow. I mean, there's only 2/10 really, less than 2/10 separating you from getting through to the Hyperpole session. If somebody makes a mistake or anything like that, you could be in with a shot for pole. As we see, Scuderia Carmona are doing absolute wonders in that Alpine. Wow, fair play to them. Project A leading at the moment. We've the Drivetrain Racing as well in second, but Scuderia Carmona really with a left field choice, kind of taking it to everybody with the top 2 choices. Scuderia Agile, I believe I saw someone in the chat saying it's meant for English and also Italian. So Agile Agile, apologies, just tell me how to pronounce it. But oh, there we go. There's another time gone up. Wojal Racing goes top 4 in Scuderia Agile. You know what? I'm gonna call them Agile. We're gonna call them Agile. They've had a rare lockup. We're gonna call them Agile. We're gonna simplify things down. They've had a lockup into the final chicane.
Tong, all I can say is, just like one of the Scuderia cars in real life in Formula 1 this year, they had a lockup into the bus stop.
It had a rear lockup, yes. Drivetrain Racing, however, they're not having too many issues. They're purple in Sector 1. They're also going through the Pouan corner nice enough. No, they're going to be dragged out wide a bit. Might have lost a 10th, but it's still on. We're going to send it through Piff Paff here. Keep it in the inside. Lovely rotation into the second part of Piff Paff. Don't get the gravel. Lovely exit there. Try and tip it in nicely. Don't get the gravel on exit through that corner there. I completely forget the name, but they're down by the middle sector.
Yeah, that'll be that mistake through Pouan. It loses you a lot of time because it's not only going wide there and losing out on a bit of speed and obviously getting the apex, but it's also that bump on the outside curb really will hurt you. If they can find some kind of magic second in this final braking zone, which with that lockup I don't think they will have, they may be able to pit Project A for the provisional pole position. But as they cross the line, it's already a 2-minute lap time. It's not an improvement from Drivetrain, and they've got to start looking behind them with Scuderia Carmona. Okay, those guys, they're going quick, and it's about a 1/10 of a second between them. But I say that all the way down until 7th place at the moment. I would not write a single one of those cars out for making it through to Hyperpole. There are 4 minutes left on the clock. Get your laps in, maybe pit for low fuel, fresh tyres, get a warm-up lap in, and see how you can do. Project A are flying. I'll let you take this, Tong, because they're your team.
Here we go. We're going straight through up to Blanchimont. Quite late into the lap already, but a middle sector purple. First sector, again, we're not too worried about. It's one braking zone, one corner. It could be 100th, it could be a 10th. We don't know. Into the final chicane here, braking just after the line. Try and not look at the brakes. Keep it tight into the first part. Lassa hasn't quite, but he's managed to recover it quite well. Gonna flat out avoid that curb. That curb is terrible. We're gonna flat out across the line. Oh! It's our first 58 of the weekend. No, not the weekend, but rather the entire session since the start of qualifying. 58.9. That is the time I expected for pole in the Hyperpole. We are now getting the times down. I would expect a couple tenths faster. Scuderia Carmona then in the Alpine. The second Scuderia the first Scuderia Carmona car in the 44. Going to come out of the chicane here. They are going to come across the line. I believe they're only starting the lap now.
Yes.
They are indeed. But my God, look at the times. Look at the times on your side. You have the 4th place, which is the cutoff point, the 59.6. Then behind that, because Scuderia Carmona got jumped, only about a 10th behind that they are. Scuderia Agile down by about half a 10th. Behind them, another 300s to Wojal. It's all to play for, and even Radio are down by another about 10th and a half. It's all to play for. In these cars, as I said before, the margins are way finer. So if you can find that meter in the braking zone, it could gain you that half 10th.
And one thing, two things I really noticed that you were talking about before is how crucial that middle sector was for Project A. They were slower in the first sector, they were slower in the third sector. We even saw that little mistake from Lasse through the bus stop, but that middle sector was purple, and that is what got you down into the 158s. The other thing I want to talk about is just how everyone is desperate to get their last lap in here, because like you said, it is so close right now. You need to be on track for a chance of getting into that Hyperpole crew. It's only 4 cars that can make it. At the moment, I wouldn't write out at least the top 8, maybe even the top 10. Drivetrain Racing, purple in Sector 1. They're doing what they can now to try and make it through into Hyperpole. Looks like Scuderia Agile have gone to the pits, and they will not make it round for another lap. So they are out of the session. They will not be making it into Hyperpole. That's unfortunate for them. We've still got plenty of cars left on track. I believe Vanguard Racing starting a lap as well. This is going to be incredible.
This is going to be... It's going to be completely on the edge. With everybody from third down, I would argue, even second down. Second is at risk. The only people who seem to be safe at the moment, no bias at all, Project A, they're in the 58s. That's fine. That's top 4 worthy. When it comes to the rest of the teams, Wodial Racing, Vanguard Racing, E-Train, Scuderia Agile, everybody is at risk. Scuderia Agile, we know, they're out. They're in the pits. They can't start another lap. They're gone. So what we're down to now is 7 cars. 7! Now battling for it. We can see one of the cars going sideways there. Drivetrain Racing have gone purple in Sector 1. They've gone green in Sector 2. They've had a small lock-up at the bus stop. Nothing to worry about. Get a clean exit. Stay off the curb as much as you can. Maybe a bit too much. They're going to cross the line. They've gone second. Now they've jumped everybody. Now Team Versatile is at risk. I told you second is at risk. Now... Ooh, who don't know? Skunkworks has gone into the grass. Simline, they're out. That's them done. 9th place. Good effort, but they're done. Then we got the car corner team. Team Versatile coming across the line there at 12th. Not quite what we're focusing on, but we'll see if they can bump up the order. While you're racing in P3, need to set a lap here. They're at risk. Maybe too much curb into the bus stop. They're going to come across the line, and they haven't improved. Now they're at risk for Vanguard Racing. Scuderia Agile is now back out.
I don't think they've made it onto a fast lap. I think that's a prep lap from them. So I think a lot of cars here have been caught out by the checkered flag. I think some of them haven't started the lap. I believe with Royal Racing it was the same. At the moment they are through to Hyperpole. Let's see if the 195 improves as we head through the final sector with them. Small lockup, or have they also missed the checkered flag? They all came out the pits so late across the line. It is an improvement into 4th place. They make Hyperpole, knocking out Team Versatile, but I think Team Versatile are just still out there on a flying lap. So can they respond? It is less than a 1/10 of a second. Is it over for them?
They're not on a fast lap. That's over. That's your Hyperpole grid. Project A going wide, that doesn't matter. They're already top. What a section.
Sorry, Scuderia Carmona has gone into 3rd place, making Hyperpole. That pushes out Vanguard Racing. They are out from Hyperpole now. We told you this was going to be close. And Project A, that 158 helping them out, meaning they were through safe. But like Tong said, everyone from second down was unsafe. And there you can see Versatile were not on a fast lap. They have pulled into the pits. Scuderia Agile also not on a fast lap. And Vanguard Racing, they are going to be heartbroken on just missing out at the last minute for that Hyperpole session. Wow, that was... Tong, you were joking about earlier how I was saying this was going to be an amazing session, but can you now not confirm that was an amazing session?
Sorry, I was taking another drink for the shot game that I was playing, but wow. I mean, Scuderia Carmona, in the Alpine and unchosen car, which I said at the start of the session, they have been setting brilliant laps. They pulled the lap of their life to get into Hyperpole here. That is absolutely fantastic. Like, the end of that, the gap between, I believe... the top 8 was less than about 4/10 of a second. Like, you can't even imagine. You can't blink that fast. You know what I mean? It's just mental. Like, obviously Project A, and knowing Lasse, he was just going to set a lap. There we go. There's a lot more to come, but the absolute sheer commitment, the ability to put in one lap. Scuderia Carmona really sticks out in mind for me. They did a brilliant job. Versatile, I feel very, very sorry for them, but the best thing is they can now start practicing race pace. They don't have to worry about having to go into hyperpole. They just have to go, right, here we are now. We're not starting too bad.
Well, I agree with you. And talking about qualifying, obviously, qualifying is important. You would love to be on pole. It gives you clean air at the start of the race, especially in Hypercar. You've got no one in front of you. In GT3, obviously, the Hypercars are ahead. If they have spins and crashes, you can easily get caught up in that. But pole for Hypercar is it's such a good feeling, and just having that clean air is so important. But starting P5 over an 8-hour-long race is not the end of the world. Okay, if you've got good race pace, if your strategy works out well, if you can time it well with full course yellows and potential safety cars, things can go in your favor and you're still in it for the win. Honestly, I say in endurance racing, you can never write anyone off for a win. You could go all the way down to 15th in Hypercar. You could go all the way down to 23rd in GT3. You never know what's going to happen over an 8-hour race. So yes, qualifying is important and it's brilliant for us to watch, but don't get yourself down if you've not quite made those Superpole and Hyperpole sessions. Speaking of Superpole, that's what's coming up next. So Tong, why don't you explain to us what Superpole is and what we might expect from the lap times when we go into it?
Yes, so Superpole, as we saw in the GT3 session, was very, very, very closely contested. We have the top 4 people from our GT3 qualifying field. Essentially, if you think about it, if you watch F1 yourself, you see Q1, Q2, Q3, the top 5 go through. This time, it's the top 4 go through into the final shootout, essentially Q3. So your top 4 people will go through in the GT3 class. They will battle out over the course of about 10 minutes to set the fastest lap time, and that will decide the top 4 starting positions for the field. Now, the rest of qualifying is being set all the way down to 21st, but this is for the top 4 and mainly for pole position as well. Same format carries over to Hyperpole, but we'll have to see that in a bit as the GT3 qualifying Superpole should be coming up shortly.
Yeah, just getting the server sorted for that, getting everyone who is on for Superpole into the session. It'll be probably a couple minutes. We've got a little cooldown now for me and Tong to reflect on the sessions that have been. And honestly, I mean, we have a favourite for Superpole, okay? It was quite clearly a few tenths ahead when we watched the GT3 qualifying. But like we said earlier, it's not another 23-minute session. These are now 8-minute sessions. That is barely any time when you consider for the GT3 cars, Spa is a over 2-minute lap time, a 2-minute 15 if you're pushing, probably more like a 2-minute 30, 45 on just a prep lap. So you've got to be on it on 1 lap pace here. You've got to, there's no building up, there's no getting into the groove of things. You have got to get in there and have your race pace, well, your qualifying pace ready to go. And that is where surprises can happen. If a little mistake creeps in, if someone has a spin, they have the potential to lose out on that pole position.
What we're going to see here is really the conservative first lap time, maybe, because again, as you mentioned there, if you have a spin, like your tires are not only flat spotted, but they're cooked. A general meme reference, but it's going to be really, really clinical here. If you have a spin and you need to return to pits, you now only have about a lap, maybe 2 laps if you do it early. It's going to be really, 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 really on the edge. How many times have I said really there? Quite enough. But you have to be really on the edge.
And Tom,
otherwise,
you know a lot about being on the edge of things. So why don't you tell us?
Reference?
Why don't you tell us how you would be feeling, because you are obviously a sim racing driver at this moment. There's 4 cars that you're competing against. What's the nerves like right now?
So usually right now, I'm not usually a qualifying driver. I'll be the first to admit I'm not really a hot lap driver. But what you really have to do is realize, right, I've done this in the first session. I've gotten myself to this point. This is the gaps. Where am I losing the sectors? Where am I doing this? Right, if I break a bit here, break a bit there. If you have a team around you to help you out, there's no price on it. It's really, really, really helpful. So ideally what I'd be feeling at this moment, right, I'll go out and do my recce laps, my warm-up laps, see how I'm feeling. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm warmed up. Let's go for it. You have to really, at least in the Super Pole and Hyper Pole sessions, it's a different world. You have to be on the limit right away. There's no, as you say, no pootering about. There's no, oh yeah, this lap's fine. Oh yeah, I'll do it the next lap. No, you're on it. You have to be on it. Otherwise, you lose out in pole position.
And that's where the number 222 car is going to have to show us what they can do. Because we saw they were fast over the initial Hypercar qualifying session. Now, they've got to show us they can be fast without any preparation and under as much pressure as possible. You see, they're already riding the curb a little bit, but this is practice. This doesn't matter. They've got 3 minutes to kind of warm up, get out there, get used to the car. A car we did see making mistakes initially was this one, the 55 Silverheads. They had a big spin on sort of their first lap after a purple Sector 1. So you can see how the pressure is going to affect these drivers. And this is where the 55 car needs to keep it together and get that initial lap in as soon as possible. Then, if you make a mistake, well, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but you've got a banker lap in. You might not be pole, but you might be second or third.
What's really got to hamper are those people in the cars that are clearly built for straight line speed. Like the likes of the Mustang seems to be quicker through Sector 1 than anybody else. The likes of the Ferrari as well in the Hypercar field. It's really going to be harder for them. When you're on the limit and you have less grip, it's so much easier to overdrive the car, so much easier to brake later, so much easier to send it way too hard and wind up in the gravel. You need to be as clinical as possible. So those people, yes, straights, you may lose a certain amount, you may try to overdrive the corner, but you have a lot more benefit compared to those likes of the Porsche. When it comes into the chicane, they're so much more dialed in. When you're in those lower grip cars, in say the chicane, for example, where the car can bounce around, that's where the pressure will get you.
I 100% agree. Out of these three different cars at the moment, we've talked about the pressure. Let's talk about the cars now. Which one would you want to be in? Which one do you think has the best pace around Spa-Francorchamps?
The fastest one.
Well, that's a great answer, Tong. Thank you for the insight. I really do appreciate it. It's been lovely having you on.
Thank you for having me.
Are you here all week?
I'm not here all week. I'm here Saturday and Sunday though, and weekends off. No, I'd like to be in the Mercedes. Having driven it before in AC and also driven in iRacing, I like the Mercedes. It's very easy to get the front in. Now, likes of the chicane, it's very hard to get the rear traction and stop the car squirreling about. But once you can get the hang of it and get the right setup, like FNLRT here have done, it's really, really nice to drive. You can do whatever you want. The Porsche, though, I love driving the Porsche, but it doesn't have the outright speed. But maybe ISC can show us that I'm a complete idiot, because the car on power is so goated. To use another name reference, it's so goated on the exit, especially in the chicane. You can see it just glides through. Other cars have bounced through, get sideways, maybe spin. The Porsche stays planted. So, to avoid a better term, it sticks like poo to a blanket. Because I can't use swear words in this
Well,
channel.
Tong, that was lovely. I loved hearing you say goated, poo to a blanket, and I really hope you never return for one of these. No, I'm only joking. But it does genuinely feel like hanging out with an unk when you go that was a meme reference.
Please never refer to me as an unk. Am I younger than you? Yeah, we're about the same age.
You're a bit older than me. Like a few months, I think.
Welcome back to Grooming Dan on OC Racing Channel. No, but what I'd say is the Porsche will be easier to drive in the fact that it has a lot more rear traction. Not quite as much front purchase, it may lift off the ground. The Mercedes, though, that will be the car that I'd choose. The Mustang, the guys up there in the Mustang are doing it right. Having driven the Mustang at Spa and the GT3 and iRacing, they are the goats.
All right, well, it's about 1.5 minutes until our qualifying session. Hopefully Tong doesn't use the word goat again once we head
Goat.
into it. Yeah, that's throwing me off completely now. But this is GT3 Super Pole. These top 4 cars are shooting out for pole position. As Tong said, imagine it kind of like Q3 in Formula 1. Because I know if you're a Dan No Skill viewer, you've only seen Drive to Survive. And you've never watched endurance racing in your life before.
Thank God there's all 5 Dan No Skill viewers we can explain that to. But yeah, essentially, the Hyperpole is... This is pole. The session before where we were going the top for our lungs going, what's going to happen here? That was only qualifying. So the whole Hyperpole, this is now for pole. This will be nuts. Stay tuned.
And you said take a shot every time, said this will be amazing. How many times have you said pole right there?
I think I'm down the whole bottle.
Well, that'll explain that. So, probably explains why he's saying goat so often. Anyway, we've got about 20 seconds until we get these cars on track. Don't expect too much action to start with. One thing I do say look out for is what order will these guys go out? Are they all going to go out together and try and be the first? Or will they try and stagger their start? Remember, you probably want to go out for as many laps as possible. It's not like Formula 1 tyres that degrade after 3 corners. These cars can go for lap after lap after lap and build up tyre temperature and therefore have a bit more speed. We actually have a couple cars now heading onto the track, including the 222 car, who was our provisional pole sitter in the last session. They're leading the pace, and they've got Silverheads just behind them in the Mustang as they head up towards Eau Rouge. This is going to be, as I've said many times, very exciting. Are Silverheads looking potentially for a bit of slipstream? And maybe that's why they're following their rivals out. You can see, I believe that's the 97 car just in the background there. They might be in prime position for a tow. Tong, what would you do? Would you stick behind someone and, you know, try and get that tow? Or would you find yourself some clean air and just go for a lap on your own?
Be honest, Dan, I just get pole. It seems a lot easier. Ideally, what I do,
Thanks, Tom.
though... No worries at all. What I usually do is I like to have clean air. I like to basically have no one in front of me. I like just, there's me on my own. Now, if there are cars ahead, the natural racing driver bit, at least what I found in go-karting, is you start to chase the people. Maybe it might be some advantage for those people going, right, there's someone up there, I see taillights, I'm going for it. But usually, what most people will find is a completely clear track lets you focus the mind on corner after corner. So most likely these guys might back up. There may not be too much bushing. You can see Silverhead's not quite in slipstream range of the Mercedes ahead. So they might just back off and go, right, we need to focus on ourselves.
I completely agree, because we talk about dirty air in terms of what the aerodynamics of the car produce and put you off through corners. But one thing that following a car really does, especially to me, is it can put you off. If you see someone making a mistake up ahead, you might just hesitate, and that can lose you a few hundredths of a second. But we've got the 222 car about to start their first lap, and clearly not following mine or Tong's advice, the 55 car is right behind them. So let's see. The 222, I can see going through the bus stop there, trying to get a perfect exit so they can have as much speed as possible as they head down into turn 1. Turn 1, of course, the iconic La Source corner. Let's see how they take this. Hard on the brakes into first gear, taking that apex there. Could get closer to the wall if they wanted to. That may not be the line. If you look in our small window at the top left, 55 a lot wider through turn 1. So that could be a few crucial 10 slots through there. Now we're heading into Eau Rouge, into Radion. Oh, the speed through there, keeping it planted and flat in 5th gear. Let's head on to the Kemmel Straight. Will they make it into 6th? We've seen a few of these drivers actually opt to not go into 6th gear and keep it in 5th. That could be to do with the horsepower charts. There's something about that. I don't really know how it works. A yellow first sector from the 222 car. I don't know how that can be because they've not even set a lap yet. Anyway, through the Mulsanne corner and already flat on the throttle. It can always feel quite understeery through there as they head down into Ravage. And as you can see, that tight line, hard on the brakes and then dropping off them. And Oh, that was smooth. No wiggle from there. The car looked planted. Clearly a nice setup, or a driver enjoying the car through there. In No Name, a little bit wide from the apex, but it won't hurt them too much as they head down towards Puon. And the 55 car has dropped back significantly, so we can see which of the two has the pace advantage at the moment. And that was a great Puon, using all the curb and nailing the apex through the second part of the corner. Into Fanye now. Again, opting to not use much, if any, curb at all through there, which is interesting. Some people like to ride up on those ones. Let's see into Stavlo if they choose to do the same. A bit more curb through there, a bit more brave on it, and already flat. Was that a wheel in the gravel? If it was, it didn't affect them because that's purple through Sector 2. Heading now down towards Blanchimont, and it's flat all the way, all the way, all the way. Still through here, flat. All the way through this next corner into Blanchimont, and until you get to that bus stop chicane where you have got to pick your braking zone. Let's see how difficult it is for the 222 car to do. Will they get a bit of a lockup like we've seen a couple other people have? No, they will not. Early on the brakes there. Swing it in. It just looks clean and put together. Tighter line than they did on their outlap. Again, that'll be for more speed on the outlap. And across the line with a 2:14 already, matching one of their best times. Let's see the 55 car as they head across the line. And it will be a 2:18, so quite a big difference there. The 97 car looked to have caught up, and they did. A 2:15, they're into P2. Currently the closest rivals to F&L. And the number 99 car last across the line. Will it serve them well, that clean air? It has, and they move into second place. Well, it said they moved into second place, but maybe that was track limits because they haven't moved on my timing screen. Tom, what did you think of that first session?
Very much getting a banker in. You can see the likes of the Silverheads trying to back off. Look, we've made a mistake. We're going to back off. FNL and RT, quite a lot of mini mistakes there. I know you were saying looks great, but you can see there, driver's eye, there was a couple of mini mistakes. Got too wide into No Name corner. Maybe got locked the rears into Malmedy. You can see the small bits and pieces here. They have a lot of time to gain. Silverheads still haven't stuck their first lap in. Park Motorsport still have a lot of time to find, maybe not that way, and ISC Racing have definitely invalidated the lap time. But looking at it so far, banker laps in, grand, we have something to fall back on, especially for FNL RT. They have a great banker lap to fall back on, even if it's a bad lap. They have a lot of time to find from the looks of it, so we'll have to see. It's going to be really close. Nobody's set their ultimate pace yet.
They certainly have not, and I think the 99 car especially that had an invalidated lap, they have got time to find. Remember, these drivers are the cream of the crop from our final session as FNL go faster again in Sector 2, which, as we saw in the Hypercar qualifying session, was exactly the place you need to find time. They're going to head through the final sector now, and if you look at our track map in the top left, they've eked out quite a bit of distance between them and the rest of the cars, which is often a good hint that they might be going faster than them all. Tong, they're about to head into the bus stop. Is it a clean one? You tell me.
It looks to be. We haven't really seen the whole lap, but they seem to keep it. They're so good through the chicane. Can they get the ultimate run out? Curb seems to be all right in the GT3 to come across the line. Two tenths faster. But what can Silverheads do? Silverheads, I think, they're their closest competition. Park Motorsport there to set their first representative lap. Well, sorry, not their first representative, but maybe even a faster lap. 14.7 from Silverheads, not too far behind. That is their banker lap, let's keep in mind, after they had a bad lap. ISC Racing have also dropped back, so maybe a couple of slow laps. We've had a mistake, drop it back, conserve the tyres. Now we're going to go in towards the last laps. This lap and next lap, they are the last two flying laps.
Yeah, you're going to have to push on both of these laps and hope you don't make a mistake if you want to get a final one in at the end. This is potentially for some teams their final lap and probably the second to last for everyone. You can see how that they've really not got much time. So FNL getting out early has helped them. But like you said, Silvercar are close behind. Currently, FNL not able to improve on that first sector that they actually, I believe, did during the practice minutes of this session. So they've not gone faster than that, but you never know what slipstreams were happening during that initial 3-minute session. Silverheads behind. They've been quick. Looks like they've improved on those mistakes they had in our first qualifying session. And now they've ironed it out and they're going really fast. We're yet to see, I think, the full pace from the 97 or the 99 car. They've got to stay on track, and they actually need to get round in a bit of a hurry at the moment. I'm not seeing them lighting up the timing screens as FNL going purple in Sector 2 yet again.
Still 700ths down on their best lap time. We'll see how they come up to the chicane. Like, every single lap has looked really clean. We haven't really had a proper onboard to see how they're doing it. We can see Silverheads there in the small cam, or at least we did. They're going flat out, so they're not too far behind. They definitely dropped a bit back. We can see here FNLRT braking so late into the chicane. Can they get the first apex? They can. Pick up the throttle, a bit of sideways. Now we can go flat out. We're going to run the curb. What curb? We're going over it. There we go. 2:14.2. They found a 10.5. They found about 2 tenths, nearly 2.5 tenths between the end of the second sector and the third
that's
sector.
Close. 1/10 off is the 55 car, Tom. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that is heartbreaking. And they've pitted, so they are not going for another lap. 55 car is out of Super Pole. Let's see the 97. They do drop into the 2:14s, but it's not an improvement. Come on, 99 car, not set. And they go into third with a purple final sector. Not quite. Pipping the 55 car, who has gone back to the pits. There's one more lap for the 222, the 99, and the 97 car. So can they improve now? The 55, they've put themselves out of qualifying. They've gone, we're happy with that. We're a 10.5 roughly off. Would you do that in this situation? Or maybe they underfueled the car? What do you think, Tong?
I think they underfueled the car, to be honest. They thought they'd have one less lap than they thought they would have. FNL may have gotten track limits there. It could be a complete upset. It could be ISC racing on pole. With the pace they showed there, the tyres still getting up to temp, the car now with the lowest amount of fuel, this could be the pole lap. FNL now, do they have enough fuel to complete the final lap? We'll see going to the second sector. They're absolutely on rails through Puon. We'll see going to Fania here, going to break just after the board, just at the first line. They're not quite dialed into the apex. Now they are into the second part of Fania. Do they get the gravel? No, they don't. Into the final part of Sector 2. What is the Sector 2 time? Are they up? They got a bit of sideways. They're down by half a tenth. What is ISC Racing going to show us?
ISC Racing, their lap has looked clean on the onboard. I don't know how their lap's going to go, but it's going to be close between these two. One thing I did see interesting was that Park Motorsport, they had a mistake during their no-name corner, I believe it was. We saw on the little onboard. So it looks like they might be out of quali, but let's see if the lap time is an improvement from FNL RT. It doesn't look like it's going. It is a small improvement. A 2:14 once. They found some time in that final sector, and ISC have pulled over. They've said that's it. They're out. It's only Park Motorsport, I believe, left now as they head into the bus stop chicane. This could be Super Pole for them. It's one corner left, and they've backed out. They clearly had no pace. So there you have it. FNLRT are your GT3 Super Pole sitters with a blistering 2:14.1. What a lap time from them.
Amazing how tight the entire field was. Like, FNLRT, brilliant lap from them. They did a 2:13.9, but they didn't need to do that again. As I was saying, like, you will be on the limit. You will make those mistakes. But like bravo. Like, the ISC Motorsports and the Porsche, they must have made a mistake on the exit of the end of Sector 2. That's the only reason I can see them pulling off there. Maybe caught the gravel, maybe got sideways, who knows? But that's what have really ended their run. But my God, I don't think I have the breath to go on. Dan, save me.
I will save you. You made some good points there. A couple mistakes creeping in, as we talked about, with probably that pressure that we were saying during the practice session. You know, it's just so crushing. I do have to ask you, there is, of course, the element of tyre wear, not just pressure. Could that final lap have been compromised for all the teams? I'd argue not, considering we saw an improvement from the 222 car. But could tyre wear have played a factor in them not being able to push? Would it have been beneficial to maybe pit for a fresh set during that session?
It's very easy to say that when you're... I think a lot of people agree with me here. When you're in the car, going for consecutive laps. You know what you've done the last lap, and you can do that. When you go into the pits, or you return to pits, change tires, start again, you're resetting your mindset. You do this again. How did I do that? How did I do this? Rather than you doing lap after lap, you're in a rhythm. Hence why race pace, a lot of people are more consistent over race pace than they are doing qualifying laps. So really, it would have been ideal to keep the amount of fuel in and also go for those laps. The tyre wear, however, I don't think was too extreme on the GT3s. I'd have to fact check myself on that, but I think it was the best way to go about it from a driver standpoint. If you pit for softer tyres, you've taken yourself out of that rhythm, and therefore you've kind of lost your groove.
I think I can empathize with that. That does make sense to me, but because, like you said, when you go back to the pits, you're resetting everything. You've got to get a feel for the track again. You've got to remember like what your grip's like. You've got cold tires. It does put you off. The other question I want to propose to you then is what happened with the 55 car? We saw they had enough time before the checkered flag came out for another lap. We saw they had the pace. They were the closest. They are on P2 for tomorrow. Why didn't they carry on? Was it maybe just a fuel miscalculation?
Clearly not enough fuel. Either they completely obliterated the wall, or they ran out of fuel. It's either one of those two.
I don't think they had a crash because they set the lap, pulled over, and that was that. They went straight back to the pits. So
yeah, it must have been out of fuel. It's pretty easy to see that now. I'm getting word through from the chat here. No fuel for ISC. That's the reason why they didn't set the fastest lap time. So slight miscalculation, which is a bit unfortunate. But I mean, I'm gonna look towards tomorrow. Everything's done now, right? Did we have the pace? Yes, we did. We're only a 10th away from pole, guys. So now looking towards tomorrow on GT3, it's gonna be tight as anything.
I mean, drawing another comparison from Formula One, we saw in that series, especially on the race start, just how effective the slipstream from the exit of the bus stop all the way into Le Combe is. And like we had in the F1 this year, we will have a rolling start tomorrow. Not a standing start, a rolling start. So if you're in P2 and are able to tuck up behind P1 and get a good launch, you could find yourself overtaking on lap 1 into Le Combe and getting yourself a nice little gap. So although it must be so frustrating knowing you maybe had the pace to compete against the pole sitter, take that feeling, make it positive into tomorrow, and think about strategy on the race start.
Yeah, especially the third place car. You can see even in F1 as well. I know we had the McLarens dominating, but the likes of having third place, you have the slipstream behind the car in front of you. If they're too wide into turn 1, you have the benefit. It's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out. But again, it's an 8-hour race. Like, the car in 20th can come up and lead the race.
Yeah.
So we just don't know. The qualifying session, with how tight it was, gives an example as to how close the teams will be over the course of 8 hours. There will be overtakes. There will be cars with certain benefits. Maybe the Porsche will overtake into the curves. Maybe the Mercedes will win down the straights and dive into Kemmel. We don't know. It's you have to watch it. We can't predict, but we can go by past, presence, and also what we have here. You have to watch what happens.
You certainly do, as I believe people are beginning to get ready for Hyperpole. So we've just seen the pole position shootout for our GT3 category of cars. They are not the fastest category of cars that we are going to have this weekend. These are your fastest category of cars that you're going to have this weekend, the Hypercars. And this is your top 4 teams: Scuderia Carmona, Project A, which Tong may have a bias towards, Drivetrain Racing, and Royal Racing. These 4 are going to be shooting out for the best position of the weekend, the front of everybody. Ultimate Hyperpole.
It's going to be interesting enough now to see the difference between, we have 3 different cars. We have Ferrari, we have Alpine, we have Cadillac. Different cars with very different characteristics. We're going to see how they're warming up the tyres. The tyres don't warm up after the first lap. It's very, very hard to get the tyres fully warm. You'll see cars going wide on their out lap because the tyres just don't have the temperature. To be really careful not to lock up, because these cars, unlike the GT3s, do not have ABS. They do have traction control, but ABS. It can easily lock up a tire. That can mess you up for, say, if you lock a right front, you're messed up. You're completely gone for any kind of left-hand corner. So it's going to be really, really crucial as to who gets the ultimate preparation, the ultimate lap in.
And I think that this, even though this is a short little practice session just before we begin Hyperpole qualifying, I think just being able to build up onto the track during this part is so important, because it's like we saw with the GT3s, it's not many laps and you're probably going to be out there for the whole time. So just getting a feel for the track now, helping you build up to that banker lap, can be really important for these guys. And I think they appreciate having this 2-3 minutes where they can just get into a bit of the rhythm, because that ultimately is what decides it. Yes, strategy and fuel plays a little bit of a part, as we saw with GT3 Superpole. And yes, your pace obviously matters, but it's not making the mistakes that ultimately got that 222 car that dominant pole position.
Yeah, it's really handy having that 2 or 3 minute practice session. You kind of go, okay, like even you can see all the cars out there. Let's just, right, this is how the car handles again. Right, I can do this, I can do that. Because you're going through between the sessions, we've quite a gap between the GT3 Hyper or Super Pole and the Hypercar qualifying. You've quite a gap there. You need to really go back in and go, right, this is how the car handles. This is how we do this. It's resetting your mind to be like, right, I'm in race mode. Because once the practice session ends, you're straight into qualifying, you can drive out, and away you go. It's really, really handy to have that 2 or 3 minutes to kind of re-engage that bit of your brain.
Especially with the way we've done the sessions now, breaking them up between GT3 qualifying, then Hypercar qualifying, then GT3 Superpole, then Hypercar Hyperpole. That's, unless of course you're practicing in between that, that's a lot of time where you're out the car, you're forgetting little things that you did, maybe you're overthinking certain things. You've got to be mentally so strong during this part of the race.
You do, 100%. You need to be just, right, can I do this? You need to have full confidence within yourself. If you're out now at a qualifying, you're kind of going to be going, I should have been top 5. Should have this, should have that. If, should have, would have, could have. As simple as. Now, these people are like, right, I'm in. I know this team did 3 tenths ahead of me. How do I do that? Right, this corner, that corner, that corner. And you're kind of going through it in the practice session. Can I take this faster? Can I do this? You see the guys warming up their tires, ready to, as if they're going for a lap, to see if they can do certain things. They're not going for a hot lap. They're not going for a flat out lap. They're testing out things they can and can't do. Again, at the end of the day, it's sim racing. They can make those mistakes and crash the car and hit this and hit that. They're going out to find out, can I do this? No, I've crashed. It's really a game of trial and error now in this 3-minute practice session.
It really is, and we're about to head into it. So, practice... Oh, sorry, out of it, I should say.
Dear God, Dan, are you awake? I was looking to see if you were awake there.
We were talking about practice. No.
Were we?
We were. I meant we're going into Hyperpole, because this is our ultimate session, as we were saying. It's the one that decides who's going to be starting at the front of everybody. And if you are just tuning in now for whatever reason, no, we don't have 4 cars. Like we said, we've run prior qualifying sessions to this earlier in the stream. You can go check them out if you want. And this is our Hyperpole. So the top 4 of that session have to battle it out. If you are also just tuning in and don't know when the race is tomorrow, it is at 11 AM UK time, okay, which is BST. Convert that into your time zone if you live somewhere else. Hopefully you do. I'm sorry if you live in the UK. And make sure you tune in. It's an 8-hour long race, so if you're going, oh, I'm doing something at that point, shut up.
No, that's a bit rude.
You've got 8 hours to watch it. There's no excuse. Even if you're at work, get on your lunch break, get on the OC Racing channel, watch this. Probably watch all his other videos. There's some that I'm in. They're really good.
Yeah, but Dan, like I'm working at them. I don't have a lunch. I'm kind of busy at the moment to watch this OC race.
You're racing in it, you donut.
Oh yeah. Anyways, on to Hyperpole. Here we go. The top 4 teams who have managed to get through to Hyperpole will now go for the overall front of the grid. GT3, that was pretty cool. We now have that grid set. Now we're going for the overall front of the grid. And don't call me a donut.
I'm sorry, Tong, but we'll just have to agree to disagree on that one because
There's
that
only
was
one man who brought you to Spain for Formula One. Let's just keep it at that. Anyways,
Oh, guess what,
Project
Tong?
A.
I've got breaking news. That's absolutely brilliant. We're having a quick server restart, so just bear with us for a second. It'll probably
Oh,
be like a
isn't that
minute longer.
fantastic?
I don't know if that means we do another practice session or not. I believe it did near the start of qualifying. So if that's the case, we will just have another little practice. Don't worry about it. That helps these guys out, I suppose. Or it builds the nerves up more. I don't know what's worse. Would you rather just get on with it at this point, or would you rather have a bit more practice time? You've kind of had months of practice already.
I want to get on with it. I'm in that mode now. My practice is over. I know what's happening. I'm going straight into qualifying now. It's kind of being reset. We're like, oh, okay, right. I'm going to sit here, twiddle my thumbs, clap my hands. Right, how am I going to go about this? Okay, now it's being reset. That bit where I was saying where we're going to the first part of qualifying. Okay, or the practice. Okay, now I know what I'm doing. Now you're kind of unlearning that bit where you're going, oh, do I know how to say? Oh, do I? You need to really go flat out now. Now, luckily, they have this practice session to go back at it. If they didn't, it would be straight in. Basically, it would be basically throwing you into deep water. Right, my mind is being reset now. Oh God, I wasn't prepared for this.
I hope your mind's been reset because you've been saying a lot of silly things, Tong, and I'm not happy with you. We're gonna have a proper fight after this. But such is the way of live streaming. Things go wrong, and I appreciate everyone who stuck around for this stream because we've had some great action when the cars are on track. And don't you guys worry, tomorrow's race is going to be 8 hours of that action. It's going to be brilliant. And Tong, dare I say it? Yeah, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to say, we hope there's no technical issues. There probably will be something. I'll probably forget to not have Tong's mic on or something, but you never know.
That's not incredibly a bad thing, but look, technical things happen. That's what we're going to go with. We've done a 3-minute-ish practice session for the boys to get their eyes in. We'll kind of see how they go from there, but I'm really excited for this hyperpole. It's really close, you see, because one mistake can cost you like about a half a second. We don't know how it's going to go from there. You know what I mean?
I completely know what you mean. Also, take a shot because you said you're really excited now, so it's not just me anymore. We're both excited.
No.
This session, this was the closest session, even closer than the GT3 qualifying. During the Hypercar qualifying, and the GT3 Super Pole got even closer. So if this session gets even closer, you are in for an absolute treat. Tong, I have a quick question for you. We saw the car who was first on track, which was the 222 during Super Pole. They were the eventual pole sitters. Would you want to be the first on track during Hyperpole as well?
Doesn't really make a massive amount of difference. Like, yes, you have a clear track. Anybody behind you, they kind of have to automatically back off almost. But when it comes to likes of only having 4 cars on track, you're not under that much pressure. If you back off, it's not going to be 15 cars steaming up the inside of you. You're just, right, there's my 3 cars, I'm going to back off, go ahead, my tyre temperatures are okay, and go for it. The likes of this hyperpole session, you might be a bit more conscious because the tyre temperatures make a lot more difference with these tyres. But we'll have to see how it affects each driver. We haven't had proper representation. I mean, even for example, we had 15 minutes before we got the fastest time of 59 or 58.9. So we really don't know what the times are going to be. Do you know what? It's unpredictable. We have no idea what's going to happen. We can go off previous data. 100%. We just don't know. So stay tuned.
That's the one thing in motorsport, isn't it? You can have all the data in the world. You can have everyone telling you this will happen. This is the best pit window. This is that and the other. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the drivers and the humans in the car. And that is unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. And in the next 2 or so minutes, we won't know what's going to happen either because they are about to start Hyperpole. Practice is over and we're going to head into our main session.
Now these guys already have their eye in. As we said before, there was technical difficulty. You know, it happens. Live streaming and live events. It happens. You've seen it in F1. definitely 100%. But now these guys definitely have their eye in. They've had the extra 3 minutes of practice. Now they know there might be even extra information, extra improvement. Now we're going to get the best of the best going forward for the overall pole position.
We have less than a minute until these cars get themselves on track, get their tyres warm, and go for it. As Tong said, as I've said many times, we're excited. We hope you in the chat are also excited. And also a massive thank you to everyone who's made this race possible. As you may have seen, our graphics look amazing. Every race, we've been doing this for 2 years. Every race, it just seems to get better and better. Everything looks better. And without the people working behind the scenes, like Vigo, like Hazam, like Cameron Designs, like Taron, none of this would be possible. So make sure you say thank you to them. Obviously, we'll have a big thank you to them at the end of the race tomorrow as well. But now, your wait is over. 13 seconds and the cars will be on track. Tong's rooting for Project A. I'm just looking to see some action. And I believe we'll get it. Only 4 cars out now. Hyperpole is starting.
One quick thing, Bronze Mapper asks, Dan, do you have skill?
That's a good question.
No! Question answered. Now we're available for Hyperpole, the Alpine. Leading out the Cadillac, leading out the Ferrari. 3 cars out in the line. Where is the 4th car? They have just left the pits.
There they are. Heading up behind
here they
everyone
are.
else. So as you can see, they're all in a bit of a train heading down towards Le Cam. I think I'd want... Oh, there you go. There's some action already. We've got an overtake into Le Cam side by side. And one of them runs off the track. That's your car actually running off the track. I guess Lasse looking to make himself a bit of a gap. And Scuderia Carmona in the Alpine ahead of... is it Drivetrain Racing there in second?
Mistake. No mistake. That was planned. Don't worry about it.
Of course, I believe.
Fine. It was a mistake.
Oh,
but
well. It's the one lap you can make a mistake on right now.
Basically, yeah, the warm-up lap is pretty much like, okay,
Don't break
my
there
tires
again.
are cold. Yeah, pretty much. But the tires are so cold that the car is completely different when it comes to sending it at the limit. So there's really no reference. These guys can get from the outlap right, warm up the tires, and then trace back their mind to the practice session and go from there. You have to go back in time, essentially, to get what feeling you knew you had, which is kind of weird, but it works for a lot of people.
It really does, and let's see who it works for during this session, because the Alpine is going to lead the pack on the first flying lap, and I can't wait to see this, because this is our fastest group of cars. This is the ultimate sense of speed we're going to be seeing around the track here at Spa-Francorchamps this weekend, and let's have a watch as Scuderia Carmona Racing cross the line and begin their first lap. Heading down towards La Source, you want to be hard on the brakes here, don't you? You just want to swing that car in. It's so crucial to get this corner right because, Tong, how important is that long run down towards Le Cam? Never mind. Don't worry about that, guys. Tong's doing nothing at all. We're heading through Eau Rouge now into Radion with the Scuderia Carmona team, and that is just absolutely amazing speed. Already 300 kilometers an hour. Let's see what they get to before they hit the brakes. 307.8 I saw, and that's purple, obviously, as they're the first cars through. But what are the cars behind them going to be able to do? That's what we're looking at. Well, it's slightly slower from the Drivetrain Racing team, who are following them. But it's that trade-off again. Slipstream or no slipstream. You get the dirty air through the corners. You've got that car in front of you putting you off. The Alpine has the clean air, and they're at the front of the pack. Last time we saw being at the front of the pack as crucial to getting pole position. But if you look at the top right, that little green dot behind these two is Project A. They've got themselves a nice bit of clean air, so they could be in with a prime little bit of track to get themselves a fast lap here. Looks like Drivetrain Racing through Sector 2 have actually closed in to Scuderia Carmona, who are setting the pace at the moment. That's going to be an interesting one to see who comes out on top. Through Stavlo now, and yes, purple for... Oh, actually, no, I was wrong. Drivetrain a little bit slower through Sector 2. It looked like they closed in a bit. Tong, who do you think's got it in this first part of qualifying?
This moment, nobody's got purple sector on our screens at the moment. I think it might be Project A. Going through the middle sector, that's where most of the time is made. As we see Scuderia Carmona braking late, down, first gear, first apex, nailed, second apex, nailed, power out, bit of curb in the exit. Can they get across set of 58? They do 59.7. Drivetrain Racing just behind by about 100 of a second. Project A now have been setting the pace all weekend. 59.5, not quite the pace they've been setting. And now, Royal Racing goes right behind. The whole field separated by 0.4 of a second. That's realistically only a second lap out. They're going to get 2 more laps to try and set pole position.
Let's hope in this session everyone's put enough fuel in for 3 laps, because it's such a fine balance trying to get as little fuel as possible for as little weight as possible, but also making sure you've got enough to finish to do all of the laps that you want to do. Now, Drivetrain Racing look like they might be setting some of the pace because they've gone faster still in Sector 1. Project A, who were our provisional pole sitters in the last qualifying session, now leading us, but not with the time. We've seen them go faster than this. They were into the 158s before, so who's going to get into the 158s this time round? They've got 2 minutes on the clock, like Tom said, only a few more laps to go. This is heating up. Can Drivetrain Racing continue to improve, Tom?
It's really going to have to show in the middle sector. Like the first sector, you can only get off, as I said, through the whole of the stream so far. It's one braking zone. It's 99% of flat throttle. Drivetrain Racing really have to name the chicane here. Have they got it? They've gone into the gravel. That will screw up their middle sector. They will not have the ultimate middle sector. How much have they lost by? They're still green on the delta. We'll have to see how they carry it up into the chicane. The chicane will make or break the lap. You can see the Alpine ahead there, going ahead at full steam. Can the Ferrari make up any time? We're still looking back then. You can see the likes of Royal Racing are still going on a lap. You can see the likes of Project A are still going on a lap. Drivetrain Racing hit the inside curb. It's gone. They have 1 more lap to make it. If they're lucky, so does the Alpine. They both have 1 more lap. This is the final lap.
Yep, you are completely right. Project A, the only ones I think they're able to improve on position, unless Royal Racing is able to do something they're not. They've crossed the line. So Project A improved their lap time. Doesn't look like anyone else, if they did, I'm sorry for missing that, but was able to make a significant improvement. So you can see the pressure already getting to them. But now, this is the lowest fuel load they're going to have of the whole weekend so far. This is the most locked in, as Tong's been saying, to use a meme term, they're going to be for the whole weekend. Scuderia Carmona leads the pack. Drivetrain have gone purple in Sector 1 again, but they've got that slipstream. This is it. Who will be on Hyperpole for the OCSS 8 Hours of Spa?
This is going to be absolutely on the limit. Scuderia Carmona made a small mistake through the Lake Com chicane. You can see that Drivetrain Racing are already in the back. They said at purple Sector 1. That Ferrari has been on the rails in Sector 1 the entire weekend and the week leading up to it. The Alpine is now flat out on the way down. As I was saying before, the drivetrain might be using those taillights as an indication for go get them. Project A, we don't have a time on them, but they're going flat to the mat. Scuderia Carmona right behind them. Behind Drivetrain, apologies, both of them are down. Scuderia Carmona did make a mistake. They are out of qualifying. Second half down, you can't make that up. That's out of qualifying. Drivetrain might try and get a slipstream as Scuderia Carmona gets out of the way. Now they are going for gold. Can Drivetrain nail the chicane and get pole position on Project A? Down through the gears, beautiful first apex, trying it straight out of the second apex. Checker flag is in the air. Can they get across? Set of 58. They do. They go across. Oh, apologies. They go straight into second place. Purple first and third sector. Project A does not improve with the 59.3. So there is your top 4 set. Checker flag across the line. It is Project A ahead of Drivetrain, ahead of Scuderia Carmona, and Royal Racing in the pits for the final run.
That's really interesting, especially Royal Racing either underfueled or made a big enough mistake that they called it a day there. They will start P4, which is obviously a great place to start in an 8-hour endurance race, but it's Project A who have put it on pole. Tong, I'm sure you're secretly doing a little dance because you're happy about that. But wow, what a hyperpole session. At the end there, it really looked like Drivetrain were just about to snatch it from Project A. We'd seen the cars go quicker than this, even in the session before, but it was just enough from Project A on their second lap, not even their last lap, for them to secure pole position. And Tong, how are you feeling knowing that tomorrow when you race for that team, you're going to be starting at the front of the pack?
It's really good. The amount of work we've done across the week, it's actually been really good. Like me and Lasse, who set the fastest lap time, what an absolute legend. We're kind of worried, to be honest, with the people behind us. No matter what the gaps are in qualifying, the race pace is really, really, really tight. So we're gonna have to find out. But yeah, we'll take that little win here. Fair play to all the teams that made it to not only who did qualifying, but also made it to the Hyperpole and the Superpole as well. The GT3s were incredible to watch. It's going to be a really good race tomorrow. I'm nervous, but excited. I don't know. I'm kind of just in that middle frame, but we're going to find out. But mainly, thank you to the viewer for watching. You're in for a treat tomorrow.
A huge thank you to the viewers for watching this stream here. Like we've already said, tomorrow, race start, 11 a.m. BST. Be there. It's 8 hours long. Tune in at some point during the day. But hang around at the moment. We're not doing the outro yet. We do have our pole sitter, Lasse Albrecht, in for an interview. So whenever we're ready. Yeah. I've got confirmation. We've got Lasse in for an interview. So we'll have him on and we'll talk to the pole sitter for Hyperpole for the whole event. And again, make sure you're there tomorrow. 8 hours of racing. So wherever you are in the world, you should be able to catch a little bit of it. And it's going to be an extremely fun one. If the action's anything like today, we're in for a treat, aren't we, Tom?
Dan, I'm going to put something to you rather than answer your question.
Okay,
I don't like it. But
right.
Someone in chat has said, if Crofty wants a week off, then I'm ready for Dan No Skill standing. I'm not, personally. But just so you know,
I'm flattered.
You've done a great job.
I'm absolutely flattered. And Tong, if Martin Brundle ever needs a replacement for the grid walk, don't put your name forward because you'd probably say something horribly offensive.
I would never. Have I done well this stream? I don't know. Comment in no.
Leave it in the comments below. Hit like.
Leave it in the comments below, and buy stuff off SimSpots. Again, SimSpots. Like again, I cannot recommend them enough for the amount of discounts. Like what was it? Honey used to give stuff. SimSpots gives.
I'm gonna interrupt your ad read for Oscar. Oscar, you can dock my pay.
It's not
if
even
you
an
want
ad read. They've done things.
You can dock my pay if you want to. We have Lasse here ready for the interview. Lasse, how does it feel after that very, very close qualifying session there at the end?
Yeah, I mean, 11,000. Hell, yeah. I mean, I was a bit away from my PB early on quali, but in Hyperpole, it's about getting something down on the lap time sheet, and I'm happy to have done so. More in it, of course, always, but the others can say that as well. I'm just happy to be starting the race up front, and we'll see how it goes from there, because I found the BOP results to be quite interesting today in terms of what came out in lap time. We will see.
Yeah, it was... Sorry, Tom, you go for it.
I know, it's all right. You just interrupted me. Me and Lasse haven't actually spoken for about the last week and a half. We prepare for this race. How did you find the car obviously had benefit through the middle sector, but how did you find it like when it came to comparing directly against the Ferrari? Do you feel we have the pace tomorrow?
Well, it's hard to say, obviously, and track position is gonna play a huge role as well. Considering the Ferrari is up on us by a bit in Sector 1 and Sector 3, and we have to survive the race start. Yeah. Curious what's about to happen. But yeah, can't tell really. Like, middle sector seems to be our strength, but then again, you can barely overtake with all the dirty air that these cars throw off.
Suppose that's one reason to be starting on pole. Well, one benefit to starting on pole, especially being quick through the middle sector. One question I've got for you, Lassie, is me and Tom were talking a lot about what it's like to be under pressure in those in that hyperpole session, knowing in the end you only had 3 laps to get the job done. What was it like? Were you criticizing every little mistake, or were you just in that flow state where you're not even thinking about your lap time?
In order to perform, you can't be thinking about anything. You just gotta do the corners like you learned them before, and just hope for the best. Like, you can't make a difference between the initial qualifying session and hyperpole as well. Like, you just always need to be on the money. So I didn't treat it differently, but yeah, it is a bit of a different scenario seeing the others' lap times in real time, them being 5 seconds ahead of you. Will this be enough? I actually binned my last lap and then, yeah, but you can just send it and hope for the best, really. That's all I can say.
Fair enough. Sounds like a good strategy to me. Tong, have you got anything else for Lasse?
No, I think we're in good shape for tomorrow. Well done. Very good pole position, even though it was only small margins. But we are ready for the race tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much, Lasse, for coming in. And again, congratulations on your pole position. And both of you, good luck for tomorrow, as well as any of the other drivers listening to this stream. A really good luck to tomorrow. Again, a big thank you from all of us here at the OC Sim series for taking part in this race and giving us the entertainment we were able to broadcast today. Thanks again to the viewers. I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. I've been Dan No Skill. Joining me in the commentary box was Tong.
Hello.
And we'll see you all in the race tomorrow, hopefully. Have a good one, have a good evening, and goodbye!